Travelers on the Omnibus occasionally touches on mature subject matter with mature language. As such, audience discretion is advised.
Welcome to Travelers on the Omnibus, a field trip through nerd and pop culture. Hey, I said it right this time. My name is Brady Davis.
I'm going to give you a
Jody
bottle cap. These are very valuable.
Talk over.
Okay.
I'm Ethan Skinner.
Oh, I'm James McCarthy. I am now one less bottle cap.
Oh, we already went through. Okay, I wasn't
Yeah.
paying attention.
Yes.
Jay distracted me.
Yeah, bottle cap.
He tried to
Yeah.
distract Ethan, but I told Ethan to talk over
Yeah.
Jay.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
I'll
That's
just
good.
I'll just cut his channel out.
We're really
It's
good
fine.
at this.
I don't do multi-channel. That would kill me.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
No
Dear
doubt.
Lord.
We tried that once.
Oh yeah, we tried that once. It was a bad idea.
The problem with that one is it ran through two boards running into one board.
Yeah.
So one was a half a second off, going to a half second forward, and the other one was permanently consistent. So if I move the half second forward, the part that's half second back, if I move it to match up, eventually it's going to be a half second forward and then a full second forward. That was let me say this. The Supercast is like one of my favorite moments from all of this.
Oh,
that
it's
we've
fun
done
to be a
because
part of.
It was great to get the three major casts amongst the friends,
Yeah.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
talking with one another. I would love to do it again one day. That being
Well,
said,
one of those is dead now, so
yeah, yes, one of them is hibernating until Audacity does the gentleman better. I'm just saying. Yeah, he looks away, but yeah, he knows. We blame Audacity around here. That's what we do.
okay.
But
That's
we
not
love
what I was
Audacity.
talking about.
No,
but-
he was
Yeah,
talking
no,
about something
I was
else.
talking about the dead. No, we don't want to talk about the dead one. I'm talking about one that's sleeping right now.
Oh, yeah.
But yes, you'll notice it if and when you get to our shout outs. There'll be one less
Yeah,
shout-out
stay
this
to
week.
the end to see who's not doing a podcast anymore.
Yeah, at least or
By
at this
process
time.
of elimination, we're not going to
at this
tell you.
time, at
We're not
this
going to
time.
tell you. You have to listen to all of it and then figure it out from the ones that we normally do.
There you go. If you've been a long time listener, we appreciate that. But yeah, the audio on that one, if we ever do that again, we might have to have microphones for multiple users and hope to God it works that way. But that has its own set of problems.
Yeah, it does.
Which I'm willing to fight. I'm willing to experience that and see what goes on with that. But
It probably would have helped if we would have done something at the beginning like clap, so you could have timed it a little bit better.
Well, again, the thing there was one of those tracks started in gained time and then ended up with lost time. So even if you have the clack and match everything up there, you still have one track that's going to be
okay.
off by a second by the end of it. And at the end of it was like, do I really want to go frame by frame? Because that was a 2-hour podcast.
Yeah.
And figure out where the drop time was and try to fix that. I'm not that good.
Yeah.
I'm not good, but I'm definitely not that good.
Frame by frame is like second by second almost.
Yeah, I think last year I listened to a Behind the Bastards podcast, which is normally a 2-part podcast where they have the same people on for both parts. And the first part, it was 2 guests. One of them and the main guy were perfectly in sync. The other person was not, and I found out when I listened to the second half of it that they used the person's second episode audio in the first episode.
Gotcha.
So she was like saying stuff that like was to like she was answering questions and talking about things that had nothing to do with this. And I was like, oh, I've heard this audio before. It was maddening.
Welcome to Pod Shop, where we talk about podcasting production errors and such.
All right, let's get us back on track. Jody, what have you been doing?
So
Besides dying.
before,
Yes,
yeah,
thank you for coming back from the dead.
yeah,
Yes.
and you know
We are
what?
glad for your health.
I want to take a moment to thank Ethan for mentioning me, in the show because Jay was like, "I'm not going to talk about Jody. He's sick. The man is sick." I'm like, "Talk about me, damn it! I'm listening to the episode because I'm not on it."
See, what I was gonna do is I was gonna go all throughout the entire podcast, and then like the very last few minutes, like, wait, where's Jody?
Yeah, I do
that
like
was the intention.
Like another part though was great was like, you know, when Ethan's like, Jody would have liked Princess Kaguya, and Jay's like, he's not dead.
Yeah.
I can almost hear him now.
Yeah.
From beyond the other side.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's how we should have gotten his audio in on the second one.
Yeah, re-listening to the recording I did for the little clip that y'all did for me on my little review on it was it just sounded like I was like being drug across a desert. Princess Kaguya is one of the best. Okay, so
It approached, God damn it, the original writer of Along the Watchtower,
Bob Dylan.
Bob
Yeah,
Dylan.
yeah,
Yeah,
Bob.
it says like not his
Right.
but his definitely
Princess Kaguya.
You had a little Tom Waits in you.
Yeah, there was-
yeah. Thank you. No, that's actually what it was. It was Tom Waits.
Tom Waits is
broken clock.
is Bob Dylan after he's after he's swallowed just mounds of gravel.
There you go.
You go long enough without listening to Tom Waits, you forget how gravelly that man's voice is. Listen
Yeah.
to the album Rain Dogs.
Yeah.
All right, so
his throat is actually a pay-for parking lot.
yeah. So I want to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly of my week, and not that movie. That movie's amazing. So we're gonna talk about the good first. So the first 2 days I was sick. I couldn't really get out of bed much, but I was able to like at least watch some stuff. And I was watching something that I knew that if I fell asleep or I wasn't paying attention to, I wouldn't miss anything. So I went back and watched the first 2 seasons of the Batman the Animated Series from the early to mid '90s.
That's like 100 episodes.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
It's actually like 60 something for the first 2 seasons. I watched like 2 episodes of the 3rd season. They tried a 3rd season like in '97. I couldn't get into it. But those
Like I was telling you earlier, that has some of the better episodes though. So
I'm sure it does.
That's the one with Clayface's daughter.
Yes.
That one's so
and that's
good.
also Mad Love is in that one too.
I have to
Is
get
in
past
that
the
part.
animation style. I was telling
And that's also, and I'm sorry,
you're fine.
like you mentioned that. That's also, I think, the one where you switch to Tim Drake Robin. And
Yes,
you
it's
have
Tim
and
Drake
you have Dick
Robin
Grayson Nightwing.
and Nightwing is there.
Right.
Yes.
Oh shit! Now I got to go back and watch it. Now that Nightwing's in it. Okay. But it's crazy. Like I was telling this, talking to Brady about it for just a minute earlier, at how little the Joker is in the first 2 seasons of that. Like maybe like 7 or so episodes. He's really not in there a lot, which makes it even more impressive that Harley Quinn became a character out of that show.
Yeah, they did a lot of episodes that like had like one-time villains that you never saw again that were not from the comics and were not from anything.
Right.
And that you literally just never saw again. They were in one episode of the animated show and they were never shown again.
And they might have popped up in another series later on, but I think the one episode of Brave and the Bold or whatever the hell the name of that show is had the Clock King in it, but he was like weird looking.
Oh yeah, he was probably more comics accurate.
He was very
Because
comics accurate.
in
And
the
Calendar
original
Man.
one, the Clock King is just like a dude,
Right.
and like literally in the comics, and I believe in that one, he has a clock.
He
for
has
a
a
face.
clock for a face.
Yeah,
But it's crazy going back, besides the fact that the Joker's not in it that much, how like varied on like the level of your rogues gallery you got. Because like there was the first iteration of Ra's al Ghul.
Yeah.
Right. You have that whole arc. You have that 2-part arc, and then immediately after that, you have this like goofy magician con artist guy.
Yeah.
Or the episode with like the sewer rat guy, the king of the rats or whatever. I can't remember his name, but anyway, he was like he had the kids. He kept hoarding the kids or whatever to have them like basically do like Oliver Twist, where like he would send them out and like Fagin or whatever that character's name was. But yeah, I really enjoyed it, and I watched the first season of the newish Harley Quinn show, the animated
That was
one
pretty
that's on
good.
HBO.
That's the one with Kaylee Cuoco.
Yeah.
Yes. Really like that a lot. I'm gonna go back and finish that eventually.
All of those seasons are really good.
Really nails the Joker's like whole his whole like thing with Harley.
That's a really good Joker. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a really good Joker. Especially it's a really good Joker when it comes to Harley.
Yeah.
Where he, like there was one episode of the Batman the Animated Series where you really see him act like that.
Yeah.
And it really, feels like they encapsulated that.
Yeah. I am always least interested in Harley Quinn when she is like just with the
right,
Joker.
Like puppy dog love with Joker.
Yeah,
and-
Right.
I hate that because
I do too.
It's it's not a good relationship, people.
Right. It's not. It's terrible.
If anybody tells you they have a love like the Joker and Harley Quinn, which you're going to get a lot of people when this new Joker movie comes out.
Just run from them.
Yeah, just
for sure.
Here's how stupid I am. I thought that was Crazy Garden. What the one that just died? Come my lady, come my lady. That
one. What's his name? It's from Crazy Town.
Crazy Town.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah,
But the guy's
dude just
name is
passed away.
Shifty something.
Yeah, Shifty, and he passed away. In my brain, it's like that's like in that. Sorry, no, his reference in that is Sid and Nancy, which actually is what the Joker and Harley Quinn kind of are like. It's mutually destructive,
and that's
one
not even
on more so than the other. But yeah,
and that's not even their worst song or their first single. Toxic.
Oh,
go and listen to that.
No.
I know one Crazy Town song, and that is all I ever need to know. I don't need to learn another one.
Toxic, rockin' the boxic. That's a lyric.
Don't need to understand or listen or have
you don't.
I don't even think you said the English.
I did.
Jody, I need you to catch the flu again.
No,
please.
I need you to shut the fuck up. Okay. So I did that, and then in the that was the good, and the bad was I watched Leviathan for the first time last night.
You watched the Peter Weller classic Leviathan.
The Peter Weller classic.
The fact that I've seen that now decades before you shocks me.
Yeah. Well, the thing
had a really
is,
cool cover. I remember seeing it in the movie.
They really did do a good job on the poster for it.
Yeah.
Now, here's the reason why I've never seen it. For one, it's one of those movies that almost never aired on cable television, paid or otherwise, up until like this month, because I looked for it every once in a while because I wanted to see it, like, because I'm still planning on doing an episode about those 3 underwater alien ripoff movies that happened during the same summer in 1989. And I watched it.
One of them almost killed Ed Harris. Stay tuned to find out which one.
So
it starts with the.
Yeah.
So this movie was. So it's aliens underwater. But it's done terribly.
It's aliens underwater, but done in a secret underwater Russian outpost.
Right. So it has a lot of really good character actors in it. I can't remember the name of the guy from Home Alone that's in it. Tall dude with the curly hair.
Oh, Daniel Stern.
Daniel Stern.
We were close.
Of Chud fame. So he's in it. You have Peter Weller's in it, and there's a couple other character actors that I can't remember the names.
Richard Crenna, who is Colonel Troutman from Rambo.
Right.
Amanda Pays.
Arnie Hudson.
Ernie Hudson's in it.
Hector Elizondo. I don't know if anybody, but he's also in it as well.
And so, like, the acting, they tried. They really did. They did as much as they could with what they had. The script, while not awful, is just aliens.
Yeah.
Or Alien with aliens mixed in, like those two movies together.
Jody, Brady. So the alien was in an alien egg. Where did they find the parasitic alien that gets into your body? Guess where they found it?
Where?
It was in a bottle of vodka.
Okay.
So, because secret Russian underwater science experiment.
Could have been worse. It could have came out your ass like Dreamcatcher. Spoilers for that movie.
Yeah, avoid that one. So
I liked Dreamcatcher. I don't love it.
I'm
but
not
I
surprised
liked
that
it.
you liked
Like,
Dreamcatcher.
okay, there we go.
So the thing that really got me,
It was Morgan Freeman's eyebrows, wasn't it?
Actually, that's my least favorite part of Morgan Freeman.
Damn.
how many times have you seen a movie where the special effects ruined the entire movie for you?
They didn't ruin it for me. But like when you say like, okay, so let me accentuate one point while I counter another one.
Sure.
For you. The fact that they're taking this so seriously allows me to get away from the fact that Leviathan puppet was garbage.
Some of the effects on, like, before they actually, like, show the mutations happening, or right when they show the mutations happening, those look really good. Like, there's skin.
The makeup works amazing.
The makeup's amazing. Like, at first it looks like Rick Baker's involved, but then immediately you disregard that. And then when they show like the full on like weird parasitic alien shit or whatever you want to call it, it's awful. And then at the very end, there's like, of course, there's a reveal after they escape or whatever. That like, oh no, it's the really big one. And I literally thought about the mom zombie from Dead Alive. But you know that movie's a comedy, and this isn't a comedy. Yeah, Leviathan, it's bad. Stay away from it.
It is rated 5.8 on IMDb.
It should have a lower rating. Ooh, speaking of ratings, have you heard the scuttlebutt about Rotten Tomatoes recently?
What's that?
No. And
So, not if you go deeper into the website, you can actually find it. But on an initial search, they fixed this. By the way, this quote unquote bug has been fixed. The past 2 Star Wars shows, up until like last week, there wasn't an audience score rating. They had removed it because of quote unquote review bombing.
Well,
But
the newest
they
one,
fixed it.
The Acolyte, was getting review bombed because a movie from 2008 called Acolytes was getting review. All of a sudden, like it had like 6 reviews before then, and it dropped like 10% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Whoops.
After that, and there was another movie called The Acolytes that also got review bombed. So like it is absolutely getting review bombed.
I believe it.
Yeah.
So there's a new game just came out. It's a gacha game. It's called
All right.
Zenless Zone Zero or something like that.
I've been seeing all the ads for it.
That sounds
Forgive me,
terrible.
Zenless or just Zenless?
It's Zen Zoneless Zero or something. Ethan,
it is Zenless Zeros. What?
I would like to back away
Yeah.
along with you, Brady, but I
Zenless
play
Zone
Raid Shadow
Zero.
Legends, so I
Yeah.
have no right.
Yeah.
What's that?
Zenless Zone Zero.
Zenless
that sounds
Zone
terrible.
Zero.
You know how I
It's-
know the game's boring? Its initials are Zzz.
Yeah.
So
A couple
it's-
of Z's.
It's different though because you have like you have like anime characters, so that makes it different.
Yeah, of course.
They have guns.
Oh, okay.
That's different.
Yeah. Mhm.
It's got a different aesthetic compared to Genshin Impact, Honkai Star Rail. What's the other one that came out recently? Weatherless Waves or something like that.
You could
Again,
literally
I'm assuming you're speaking English.
Look that up. To
You
make
can
sure I'm
say,
Say
anything right
say any
now.
name.
not. Yeah,
And I would say, cool, yeah. Mhm.
yeah.
You can say Brady and Jay Death Fight Supreme.
I
And
think
that-
it's-
yeah. There we
yeah.
go.
I
didn't
believe it.
How much did we make off that? Like 2 cents.
I'm still waiting on my residuals.
Oh shit!
What is it, Ethan?
I'm still trying to figure out what it is.
Weathering Waves.
I think that bottle cap I gave you was my residual. So there you
yeah.
go, man. You've been made whole by Coca-Cola bottle cap.
Wuthering Waves.
Wuthering
Wuthering
Waves.
Waves.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. They're all gotcha
is-
games,
Yeah.
but you know, depending on what you're into.
I mean, if you're into it, it's fine. I just
But-
have just
Is it? Hold on. Like, I get, we don't want to yuck in anybody's yum. Can there be some yums to yuck? And can it be Wuthering Waves? Can it be?
The game's better than the name, I'll tell you that.
That, okay.
that is the lowest of bars.
Yeah. The bar is under the ground. If you can't get over that, you're in the
Well,
basement.
I'm
So-
about to take a hot take and lower some bars.
Okay, but before you you make this hot take, I'm looking at like these are some games related to your search. I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
keep
7,
going.
About 15 different named games. That's all just an anime girl.
What's
just
crazy
staring.
is
That's it.
one of those
I am
companies.
so glad that you looked all of that up. So
Yeah.
now you're only going to get ads for these games.
What's
from
crazy
now
is
on.
one of
No,
those.
we're
just
we're
been-
going to get ads for it too, Brady.
One
Not
of those-
Probably.
That's the one that forces this way onto
Yeah.
the feeds.
One of
Yeah,
those
that's true.
companies made a looter shooter that's like a combination of Destiny and something else that looks pretty cool. The Descendant, I think is what it's called. Or
The first Descendant.
Yeah. Why?
Not for me.
Not for you.
Not for me.
Let me tell you something that's not for me. So, I downloaded a game that's part of a franchise recently.
Okay.
Well, I recently downloaded it. It's a game franchise been around for at least 2 or 3 console generations now. Mm-hmm. So let me ask you a question. Let me paint you a picture.
Okay.
All right. So what is one of your like favorite currently? What's one of your favorite like AAA titles, Ethan?
At this moment, it would probably be Ghost of Tsushima.
Okay, all right,
That'd
cool.
probably be it.
All right, so I'm gonna paint you a picture.
Okay.
All right, you're playing Ghost of Tsushima. You're playing that game, right? You're into it. You've gotten past the tutorial part. You're in deep.
Okay.
You're no cutscenes. You're playing the game. You're fighting shit. Okay. You kill some shit. You get to a point where you talk to one person, and then all of a sudden, the game goes, "Hey," taps you on the shoulder. "All right, take off your headset. All right, you're actually in the simulation right now. Let me take you on a tour guide to this bullshit facility for 15 minutes. Okay, now you're back in the game again. Now you're playing as a really cool samurai. Oh yeah, I played Black Flag. Fuck that. Fuck that bullshit. I'm into the game. I'm having a good time, and then all of a sudden, oh, you know what? You're in the Matrix. Fuck it."
Yeah. Black Flag is actually
Sarah,
when they...
it's called the Animus.
Black Flag is when they
Animus.
started getting better with that. It was worse before that. Cause I played,
the original
I played-
original trilogy.
I played, well, there was one, there was 2, and then there was 2 more games with Ezio.
Yeah, there was 1,
And then
3
they did
2s, and a 3.
3.
Yeah.
Yeah, I tried to play the first one.
Yeah, those are the I think they eventually started like abandoning it, but Black Flag was the last one I played.
Black Flag is, I believe, the last one where like completely takes you out of the Animus.
Yeah, I
And
think
then
they just
I
kind of
wanna say
stopped.
it was
They
like-
finally realized that was a bad idea.
And
How
they-
about just let me be a fucking pirate?
yeah?
Can I just be a pirate? I'm piloting a ship.
Unfortunately,
Like I
no.
said, there's less getting out of the Animus in that game than there is in the ones
other
before
ones.
that.
Yeah.
I think it's either Syndicate or Origins where it like completely takes it
The
out.
first one was really bad. The first one was so bad at that.
Yeah,
So bad.
every time you completed an assassination chapter,
Right.
you'd be in the
You
in the
had to be
quote-unquote
kicked
real
out,
world.
and there was nothing to do.
Right.
Yeah.
There was nothing to do.
Jesus.
However, if you got to the end of the game with 100% completion, you had assassin sight, and you could see that your walls were scrawled with assassin shit. Ooh.
Yes.
People bitched about like Banjo Kazooie and Banjo Tooie being collectathons.
Yeah.
That skip that. The original Assassin's Creed was fucking ridiculous for that shit.
Yeah, they definitely improved it. It also didn't help that the first one was kind of a boring structure. But yeah, I liked Black Flag. I never finished it. That was the one that I played that I never finished.
When it comes to favorites, 3 is probably my favorite, but Black Flag is a second.
3 I liked, but the story was such ass.
Yeah,
Hey,
like I like the
your guy is just standing up against the wall while they sign the Declaration of Independence. Why? I don't know.
just because.
Like
They could have made it so much better.
They
there
take
was some
you
interesting
there's-
stuff in that, but man, that
Right.
that story was such ass.
at Black Flag at the beginning of the game, they spend so much time like showing you how to steer a ship, and it's awkward as fuck at first.
Yeah.
And like how to shoot cannons when you're steering the ship. And one of the first things you do is like, steer a ship out of this cove, and it takes like 15 minutes just to get out
Yeah.
of it.
Yeah.
And then you get out of the cove, and then they're like, "Oh, this is a simulation. Hey, welcome to the simulation place. We're gonna talk about simulations. Okay, you're a pirate now."
I wish no, you made that better because you sounded like Goofy. And if you come out of the Animus, it was like, "Gorge, well, you made it out
I'm an
of the Animus."
assassin.
I'm an assassin.
Ethan,
Well,
what the fuck?
Doris, we're just going to look at your genetic memory a little bit here. You're going to experience some of that. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a golly good time.
Let me get the CEO 1 second. And it's like, oh, thanks, Goofy.
We got to stop this. We're going to get sued.
Papa Disney.
I was
That
like,
Mickey Mouse didn't have gloves.
yeah,
so.
yeah, it's everything. Oh yeah, it's Steamboat Willie. Don't it's
Steamboat
not, it's not, we're
Steamboat
fine.
Willie, Mickey Mouse.
It's the, it's
Public
the
domain.
voice, it's the
Steamboat.
voiced version of the silent character
Yeah.
Steamboat Willie.
Yeah.
Can't get me
Whistle
for that
quick,
one.
'cause that makes it Steamboat
Oh.
Willie.
Okay, then we're good. We're
Okay,
good.
see,
there you go,
it's
Steamboat Willie.
that Steve-
100%.
It's that Mickey Mouse.
I can't do a Donald Duck without thrashing my fucking
Oh, I
voice.
can't.
I
I've
never
never
do
been
that
able
one.
to do a Donald Duck.
Yeah, let's not. But yeah, Assassin's Creed Black Flag.
I'll end my segment on. Oh boy.
Yeah, these are the crazy things we used to do. So is that about it for you?
That's it for me, man.
I will say I enjoyed Black Flag, but I was also used to the bullshit by
it
the
just
time I got
pulls
to
you
that.
right out of the game,
Yeah,
man.
they do that.
Literally, you're being
They
pulled
do
out
that
of the
in
game.
every
Yeah.
one before that too.
Yeah.
So I was used to it by then, and it was actually less. So
And at least I will say, at least in 2 and 3, you then got to do cool assassin stuff because you were genetically remembering all of your ancestors' assassin abilities.
sort of, kind of.
the game mechanics are amazing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They're really fluid. It reminds me of a lot of really good like third-person action adventure games,
Yeah.
like Horizon.
2 and Brotherhood are probably my favorites, but I do really like Black Flag because they just were, there was like so much extra stuff that you could do, and it wasn't just a collect-a-thon.
Mm-hmm.
Like you want to go hunt whales, you can hunt whales.
And you meet other pirates.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You want to go look for sunken treasure?
You want to
do
look for
that.
treasure. You just want to fuck around on this island, you can fuck around on this island.
Speaking of, we'll talk about it when we get to you because there's an Assassin's Creed thing we can
Yeah,
actually talk
yeah.
about that
Yeah.
I actually
Yeah.
care about in a minute.
Yeah.
The way they mimic that is 10 minutes into the game of Magic with your Assassin Creed player, your mom comes in the store and pulls you away because you've been playing Magic too long.
That makes sense.
There you go.
Yeah, that's accurate. So that's it for Jody. I believe I said Jay next.
Yes, you did.
Okay.
Okay, so very briefly, so I continued my Saltmarsh campaign with my friend from work and his family. They stayed in the manor after killing one of the bandits,
Okay.
and they left briefly, and now the sun was out. But they leveled up and they got their cool stuff. I didn't realize that druids got their stuff at 2nd level, whereas pretty much every other one gets
It's
it at
3.
3rd level. So
Yeah.
yeah. So he went with healing druid, which I like the Circle of Dreams druid because you get healing and then you also get temporary hit points. So that's an extra buffer on top of that. I like that mechanic there. So they go back in and they're traipsing around and they're making noise, and then the bandits now come up even 3-on-3 because the first time they fought him it was like 2 people and one of them just got slaughtered. So so we're gonna do this again, and like they had the druid cornered, and the other 2 are trapped in the room, and so the druid like kind of goes to hide but still kind of stay in eyesight, and the barbarian. So they all had heavy crossbows, the bandits, and they're firing away. Well, the one like loaded his crossbow, and the barbarian just took his warhammer and drove the crossbow into the dude like it was a nail, and so just slaughtered that dude. And the other 2 were like, "Well, shit, Ray," and then they ran because that's what you would reasonably do. Now at this point, you're like, okay, maybe that's just the other 2 left. Maybe we'll go follow. No, we're just going to search other parts of the house. That was the first part. I was like, no, run them down. But okay, let's keep running them down. Like the barbarian wanted to like, hey, what's in this room? Instead of, I just killed one of these guys very easily. I could do it again.
Yeah.
But no, I want to see what's in this room. And there was just some like broken up plaster and shit. And then when they got in the room, the druid who has the best perception out of everyone in the team, the other one's a bard. The bard's passive perception is 9. That number starts at 10, folks. So do the math on that one.
Okay.
And he heard like 5 people coming from downstairs. And so they all burst through the window up in the 2nd floor and they ran off. Like they probably should have done the first time. They should don't come back. They're still there.
Yeah.
And they still have crossbows.
Right.
And you don't know what the rest of the house looks like. But it was okay. And that was that. It was hijinks ensued. Dude got turned into a railroad rail, and that was pretty much it there. So we're gonna try to head it back on the end this coming Sunday night and Monday morning, because time doesn't work for me the way it works for most people. There you go. The other thing, and Jody's going to jump in on this. So WWE's Money in the Bank pay-per-view happened this weekend. Also, NXT Heatwave also happened,
Which was also really good.
Yeah.
also in the great city of Toronto, Ontario, Canada. I liked Money in the Bank. I liked Heatwave more. I didn't love them,
Right.
but I did like them.
Yeah.
I did like a portion, which I think someone's going to disagree. I loved Drew winning the Money in the Bank, tried to cash it in, and CM Punk screwed him over again. Because at this point, now this needs to stop.
Right.
We've hit the point where it's everything that Drew could get. He had the title.
Right.
He lost it because of CM Punk. He had a chance to get another
Right.
shot at the title.
Yeah.
CM Punk screwed him again. He could have won the title in Scotland in front of his home country.
Right.
CM Punk screwed him again. And finally, he had another shot in the most advantageous spot you usually have
Right.
with the Money in the Bank case. Got fucked over again.
Also, though, like if like you dial it back, because this story's been built really well over the past few months, it's also been his mistakes on top of Punk getting involved, because he's gone out of his way. Like WrestleMania, he went out of his way. And Money in the Bank, he cashes in and makes the match a triple threat match where he could have just waited for the match to be over, cashed it in, and pinned the opponent, and maybe he wouldn't have been screwed over that way.
So on that note, also, I would say I wonder if that was an audible for the botch that happened in that match. That really, like, if there, like, that is a downside. I love Damian Priest. I love Seth Rollins. I love everybody involved in that match. That's a glaring fucking error to forget to kick out in that moment.
It could have been also like that was at that point that was one of the matches that got a lot of pop from the crowd, and he might not have been able to hear at least the call.
Maybe that's one of the reasons why their eyes are open when it's the non-finish, so they can look for that arm.
I think it was a mistake by Priest, but I think it was also equally a mistake by the referee in the way he executed that. Although I know he had to do something on the fly, but there's multiple different things he could have done instead of just stopping the count. He just stopped the count.
Which is something that we got on Rick Knox in that match where I was literally about to call him his WWE name, Moxley. Jesus, like my favorite wrestler, my favorite wrestler in AEW,
like
where Moxley got concussed.
Ray Phoenix
They went
match.
for the two, where he got concussed, did the two, and then stopped it before the three. It's like we like that whole thing. We got on everybody about that one. With the exception of Moxley, because we knew he was hurt.
Right.
Like, it was just kind of obvious in that one. So, like, to me, you kind of have to get, like, yes, I think the ref is there. Damian Priest also needs to know where he is in that situation. I not because I love Priest. I've loved his run,
Right.
especially the in-ring product that he's put out together. I think he's done a fantastic job of it. But yeah, I think that was a call to kind of like, it was eventually going to happen. He's eventually coming out to do that, and then like they got word that like, hey, we got to do this now, because it felt a little even more chaotic.
It was a delay when he came out. For one, I definitely think that he wasn't supposed to come out exactly when he came out, but if they were responding to what happened in the ring, it was several seconds. It was like 20 seconds or more after that happened. Another thing is like back in the day, and this referee's been around for a minute. Like, he's not new. Back in the day when they would like stop a 3 count, they would do the whole like check under the shoulders in between the counts, something to delay it, because like what Triple H said in the media scrum is that it's up to the referees, and what they mean by that is like no matter how the outcome is scripted, the referees shoot the count. Like, if you don't kick out at 3, that's on you. The referees are not supposed to ever stop a count unless it's an injury or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I hate the fact that we're talking about it so much, but you know, it's just one of those things. But besides that, what else?
There was that the women's the women's Money in the Bank match, to me, had some of the best action to come out of a women's Money in the Bank match. There were still some hiccups there.
There were a little,
like the one that kind of got, like, there was a moment where Chelsea Green was caught between 2 ladders,
right?
And I even forgot who like threw the ladder into her for that. It looked soft. I don't want them to kill one another, but if you're going to do that spot, you have to do the spot. And it just looked kind of.
I thought the Naomi spot was amazing because I was waiting for it to not happen. Properly.
Zoe Stark is going to kill herself one day.
Yeah.
That one flip from the corner into nothing made. I know what she was trying to do there.
It's either her or Mia Yim are gonna kill themselves.
That was probably the most.
Mia Yim's gonna do it on purpose.
Yeah.
Like, she's going to try to kill someone else going through a ladder. Zoe Stark is just gonna. I'm gonna see what I do here, because I watched the night when she like wrecked her fucking knee, and because she landed upright instead of flat, and her leg looked like we were supposed to be flat, and so her leg was flat for a second. It was like, no.
Well, Mia Yim did she was in a hardcore match on NXT, and she did a dive. There was like a line of chairs side by side.
Yeah.
And she did a dive, going to dive onto the woman, a suicide dive on the outside, and the woman moved, and it looked like she just hit face to chair.
Right.
Like if that was a sell, that was one of the best. That was one of the most convincing sells I've ever seen. It looked like she just took a chair to the face.
That women's Money in the Bank match was like probably one of the best Money in the Bank matches I've seen. Like overall,
Yeah.
like it matches like some of the men's best Money in the Bank matches. It's up there.
Yeah.
Like the spots they did, the story they were telling, because there was actually a story going on in there. It was really good. I really enjoyed it. I think it was one of the best matches of the actual pay-per-view.
Heat Wave. I just want to touch on the main event real quick. I thought it was a really good match. I like seeing Ethan Page winning the title in the heelishest way possible.
Yeah.
Right.
That-
By
I watched
accident.
the ending of that. That
By
was
quote
funny.
unquote accident.
Yeah. And then the follow-up NXT, you have Joe Hendry come out, and Joe Hendry's a bona fide superstar.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like that, they may have been, like, the audience may have been coached on how to do his entrance. I don't care. They hit that perfect. There's a positive feeling about that whenever he is in there. I'm excited for him. I hope this is going to lead to bigger and better for him.
What did you think about the Bloodline match in the pay-per-view?
Jacob Fatu is it. I now know why we've waited
they
so
held
long.
off because
why we've
of Solo?
I know why we've waited, because Solo's good. Jacob Fatu is
Upper echelon.
this is high praise.
Yeah.
And he could end up not being. Jacob Fatu is generational.
yeah.
Like, just the stuff that he can do with the frame he has.
Right.
Like, yeah, if you want to wrestle like a big man, he's got it. You want him to wrestle almost a luchador style, I
Right.
think he could pull it off. Now, I think his body would break down way
Sure.
faster, but I think he can hit those things
He
as
also
well.
he also has that in-ring psychology and poise. The poise is you can't teach that.
Yeah, well, specifically has that Samoan style.
Yeah.
That, like, where, like, if you had a 4'8" Samoan, he would still be a scary monster
Right.
because, like, what is he going to do to me?
Right, right.
Yeah, so no, I'm a huge fan. The fact that he no-sold the
draping
draped
DDT.
DDT.
Oh, yeah.
I thought that was perfect.
It was good.
And Orton's sell of that
Right.
was also amazing, where he turns around and is like, okay, okay, this is a different thing.
Right.
I like this version of the Bloodline. I know what it's leading to.
Well, yeah.
I can't wait for that.
Right.
The trigger should, or rather the start where we're going to lead to should start at SummerSlam and end at Survivor Series. And I think we've got enough where we could have multiple Survivor Series style and or War Games matches.
Right.
And all of them mean something, and, like, going forward, pushing story.
You don't think they're gonna wait for WrestleMania for Solo versus Roman?
Solo, a one-on-one match, Solo versus Roman.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could Rumble. I
Yeah.
don't think. I think eventually, I think eyes turn to WrestleMania and whoever has a title at that time. That's just me on that one.
Gotcha.
But for Bloodline and Bloodline 2.0,
Right.
like, that is simmering hot right now. And when you get Roman back, and, like, you have those 3 months to go into Survivor Series, and then you literally have, like, it's perfect. Whether it's War Games or a Survivor Series match, you have two teams. You have a story that means more than Raw versus SmackDown.
Right. Yeah.
You've got it. It's already built in. For God, I'm losing my goddamn mind. I swear to God. Paul Heyman. Thank you, Jesus. Paul Heyman was sacrificed through a table.
Right.
Yes.
First of all, what he represents storyline wise, but just in real life, a 50-plus-year-old
Right,
man accepted
right.
getting power bombed through a
Right,
table to
Shield
keep
bombed
selling
through a table.
Yes,
Right.
to keep selling this story
Right,
forward.
right.
Now let's get into fantasy booking. Let's say Dean Ambrose, aka John Moxley. let's say his contract's
let's
running
say.
out again.
Okay.
I would watch Dean Ambrose, Seth Rollins, and Roman Reigns versus Solo Sikoa and
yeah.
the Fatus.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my! Or
Yeah.
the Tongas. Excuse me.
yeah.
That being said, Tama Tonga. Prostate exam, no. Nut shot, yes. Stop it. Stop it. You hurt your own brother. Damn it.
Punch him in the butt.
Yeah. No. He punched he punched
Kevin
Owens
in the butt.
but he hit his brother
Yeah,
in
when
the
you watch
head.
it, I watched it in slow motion.
Oh.
He just punched him in the
He
back
just
of the
punched
head.
him in the back of the head.
Like you can see him like
It's like
hit forward, like move
No,
forward.
and he's
Like,
fencing, and it's like, God damn it!
It's like Shawn Michaels and Undertaker. Do I owe you money?
yeah.
But yeah, so that's my opinion on wrestle things and wrestle
okay.
and welcome belated whiskey and wrestling Wolfpack.
Yes.
Ow. There you go. That is it for me, brother.
All right, Ethan, what you got?
Like I've mentioned in the past.
I wanted to scream AIDS.
There's a lot of magic stuff happening.
The
with me
dietary
recently.
supplement from the 80s?
Yes.
All right, go ahead.
There's been a lot of magic stuff related things happening recently.
Okay.
Yes.
More things, more and exciting things that Modern Horizons 3 is affecting with format.
Assassin's Creed,
The Assassin's Creed,
is coming
Magic
out or
is already
it's
out.
already out.
Yeah, I was about to
And-
say I've seen it on
In fact, I
Miniature
think,
Market.
and I think all the packs the shop got were already sold out.
Yeah,
I'm not surprised.
Everything has been sold.
Which is wild. Okay, so can I ask you your opinion on something before we like jump to something else, because I want to talk about Assassin's Creed, the Magic the Gathering set for a
okay,
second.
gotcha. Go for it.
So, how much do you know about it, Jay?
Nothing.
Brady, you
I
know
know
anything?
that it's an
I
Assassin's
know that
Creed
Assassin's Creed is a trademark thing of Ubisoft.
Okay,
set. Yeah, I
All
know
right.
it's got Ezio on the cover.
So, typically for the past 20 or so years, Magic has had one kind of thing when it comes to their booster packs, outside of collector boosters, of course, and that is they typically have 15 cards in them. If you go back further, some sets had 10 or whatever. It just depends or whatever.
Yeah.
7. There are 7 cards in the Assassin's
Jesus.
Creed packs. They're more money, and you get less cards for it.
Jesus.
It's
That's
because
terrible.
it's like
It's
it-
because
it
they're
falls
greedy. No. When they, fuck you.
Okay, that's the real
fuck you,
reason.
Hasbro.
all in all, it is
Ethan,
because
tell us
of
the
greed.
corporate reason.
It's more. It's like this. It's a specialty set. It's a universes beyond.
Okay. Let me
It's the
let
same-
me add to that though.
it's-
let me add to that.
Okay, go for it.
Okay. So
While he's talking, continue drinking your Kool-Aid, Ethan.
Lord of the Rings, right? Universes Beyond. 15 cards in the booster packs. 36 booster packs in a booster box. Assassin's Creed. Universes Beyond. 7 cards in a booster pack. 24 booster packs in a booster box, and it's more than the standard box sets are.
Yeah, usually if a company wants to like do shrinkflation, it's you have to slowly do it. If you just like say, hey, we're gonna cut this in half, like people are gonna notice. I don't know. I'm not gonna buy it either way, so I don't care.
Well,
but-
there's a couple of singles I want, but this is one product where every once in a while, the professor from Tulare Community College, one of the biggest Magic channels on
he
YouTube.
played Brandon Sanderson's Cube.
I watched that. I watched
I
that.
watched it too. I didn't understand anything that was happening.
It's-
but it
it's
was
great
nice
stuff.
hearing them
Just
talk about
hearing
it.
them-
I'm sorry. We're completely taking
No,
over
no,
your
it's
time.
fine.
Ethan.
I enjoy this. I like listening to this.
It's
Yeah, you don't have to come up with anything to talk about. It's
besides the fact that
fun. I'm sorry. That was
Wow.
That was way too mean.
besides the
I
fact
apologize.
that it's greed.
Holy shit, Brady apologized to me. This is a once in a
That was
lifetime
mean
thing.
even for me. Like
You
it just came
can't
out of nowhere.
Even draft it. You can't even draft it. You can't sealed it. You can't.
7 is like a
you can't
big,
do anything.
Like I could see like 12, 13, 10 even, but like 7, that like that's a lot. to
And
cut
the
from a
argument
pack.
the argument is like, well, most of those would just be commons. And your point is what? Those commons are playable, uncommons are playable. And here's the thing, like, well, you have a better chance of pulling, but no, you don't. You
Yeah, that's the
actually do
thing.
not have a better chance of pulling anything. The professor said this is one of the worst sealed products that they have released in a long time. He opened multiple boxes and like opened jack dog shit
Damn.
out of almost every single one of them. It's just sad. It's
Yeah.
just really sad. What really sucks is the set's got some really cool cards in it.
It's really weird that they chose to do that on the Assassin's Creed one, because like the cultural cachet of that one is not as strong as say like Lord of the Rings.
Right.
Like Lord of the Rings, like damn near not as many people know about Assassin's Creed as do something like Lord of the Rings or 40K.
They did this as a test a few sets back in. There was a set called March of the Machines, and they had a supplemental set called March of the Machines Aftermath, and it had like 10 cards in it or something or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
And people were pissed about it, and they're like, "We're not going to do that again." Well, they've done it. They've done it again, and people are pissed. And the problem is
have a corporation. Hold a corporation's promises in one hand and piss in the other one to see which fills up.
The only way to hurt them is to like not buy it. But the problem is people fucking buy the product. So that's the main issue.
That is the
you can
issue.
bitch about it all day, but if you're putting your money down, they're not going to listen to you.
This is just going to be a continuous issue that they're going to continue to do.
All right, I've recovered from my capitalism-induced stroke. So
Let's talk about. Can we talk about?
no,
okay.
I want to throw my foot down on that.
Yeah.
You can complain all you want.
Yes.
But if you bitch at the person that you are buying the product, like if you're buying a whole box and complaining about it and still hand the money off, you are not part of the solution.
No.
Yes.
You are part of the
You're
problem.
just complaining.
You want to complain, don't buy it.
Don't buy it.
I don't care what cool super card is in there. If you go hunting for it, if you go chasing for it, if you go buying boxes while complaining out the other end of your head, you are not helping the situation.
Nope.
You will then end up with 7 cards a pack and 24 packs in a box. This is what's going to happen to you. Don't like it, don't buy it. Otherwise, they don't give a fuck.
They don't give a fuck.
One rat fuck.
Speaking of
rats.
There we go.
Let's talk about a set that people are actually wanting
So
and expecting.
let's talk about why I love Magic the Gathering. Bloomburrow is coming out in August.
This is a set that I might get like a commander deck or something like that.
Hell
but I'm actually
yeah.
it would have to be like the theme of it would have to be because like this is actually like the art at the very least is like very interesting to me.
Oh, the artwork, like top to bottom, everything is like out of the water.
They
like,
have
amazing.
gone hard on this set, and I I was talking to somebody about this earlier that like plays Standard from here, and then like Standard is a format where if you don't play Magic, you have like the last 2 years of the game to play with in tournaments and such, and it hasn't been interesting in like 5 years, and so they finally seem to have woken up and really pushed the Standard set, and they're trying to get Standard going again. I know they are because that's the lifeblood of the game is outside of Commander product is tournaments, because it pushes more eyes on the product, and it generates newer players to get back or older players to get back into the game. Bloomburrow is amazing because you have amazing art, because you have like multiple different versions of the same cards that have like various different artworks.
I saw one. It's like one of those main mice, and it looks like it literally looks like it's art from like a
Redwall.
From like Redwall.
Yeah, that's the showcase art.
There's a frog that is on that's just lounging on a throne on a lily pad.
Yeah.
There's
That
the
looks really
showcase
cool.
art. You have the anime art, and then you have the standard art.
Yeah.
You have like collector boosters. I don't give a shit. The card design, the artwork, the new mechanics, they all make the set seem like a real living place of existence.
Yeah.
Bloomburrow is set in what was the name of the place they called it something. It was like Valley. They call it Valley. So all of the creatures from Bloomburrow live at this part of Bloomburrow live in what they call Valley, and in Valley there is the 3-tree something or another, and most of the animal folk live around or in that tree, in Valley, and so that lets me know as a person that's invested in lore, depending on how deep the lore goes, that they're going to fill out more of Bloomburrow in the future,
cool.
and that's going to be a set that they go back to, because the problem with Magic, especially as of late, is they will, well, it's not really a problem per se, it's sequelitis in a way, because what they'll do is they had an initiative many years ago, and they've been sticking with it, and their initiative is they put out a brand new plane usually every year, at least typically, except for the one year where they had 3 blocks of Ravnica about 5 or so years ago. But they go to a new plane, but they return to a plane as well. The problem with returning to plane isn't that they return to a plane. The problem is they keep going back to the same 3.
Yeah.
They keep going back to Ravnica, Innistrad, and Dominaria. Magic was set in Dominaria for a long time, and then they had Dominaria United that came out a few years back, and that was cool. We haven't been back in a long time. It was cool to revisit. Let's not do it again. They do it again.
Yeah.
We've been back to Ravnica like 4 or 5 times. I loved Ravnica. I'd like to continue to like it, okay.
Yeah.
But if we go back again anytime soon, I'm not going to be happy. But
Yeah.
Bloomborough looks really interesting. It's really different. All the creatures have some really cool abilities. Some of the cards have some really nice abilities to them.
There is a new mechanic called Offspring, where
Okay.
if you cast the creature, you can pay its Offspring cost. If you do, you make a token of it that's a 1/1, and
okay.
each card that has Offspring has its own specific token that's
okay.
literally a baby of itself.
That's cool.
and I think it is adorable.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it holds all of the same properties of the card, except it's a 1/1.
Yes.
Oh, and for anybody who, and I only can say this because I have paid the slightest bit of attention to it. The theme is it's anthropomorphic animals living in the woods. Think Redwall, Secret of Nim, some other movie where it's got anthropomorphic animals like that.
Right.
But if you grew up with any of those, like I grew up reading the Redwall books,
Ricky Tikki Tabby.
Ricky Tikki Tabby, only more human-like.
Right.
They're actually wearing clothes.
Right,
and
yeah, yeah.
fighting with
Disney's,
swords and
Disney's Robin Hood.
Disney's
Robin
Robin Hood,
Yeah, that's
definitely,
a good one,
definitely
yeah.
hits. Yeah.
That's a good one because
With all of these, it's no humans whatsoever.
There's no humans.
All anthropomorphic.
All the
animals.
planeswalkers that are on the plane have reverted into animal form.
So these are reimaginings of classic planeswalkers like Nissa Who Shakes the World, Jace the Mind Sculptor,
Ralzeric.
Ralzeric.
Ralzeric is an otter in this.
Jace said Nissa is a frog. Jace is a fox.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Liliana is a squirrel.
And somebody's a
Okay.
rabbit. Tamio's a
Field
rabbit.
Researcher, yeah.
So
This set not only looks amazing, but is going to play amazingly.
oh yeah, it's gonna be fun. The commander decks look really cool. They did this is the most they put into a spoiler trailer since they did the first Eldraine set, which was the fairy tale set, and even that was only like 5 minutes. They put out a 15-minute trailer that explained everything, the lore of the game. They spoiled some cards. They went really hard into what all the characters are and their whole position in the whole set, and it just looks amazing. And the commander decks look really cool. They've gotten in this habit recently where they will have like an arbitrary name like they always do, but below it they'll have what the deck is. So there's a deck, I can't remember the name of it, but below the arbitrary name to the deck, it actually says Group Hug. So that's an archetype of deck where you help everybody out and then hopefully edge out enough value ahead of everybody in a 4-player commander game. They went back to squirrels. They've been definitely doing a lot of squirrels lately. So there's another squirrel deck. What are the other two? Do you remember the other
There's
two?
Make trash.
There's
Ghost
a
Smash.
raccoon.
There's a
raccoon
that
themed
makes,
deck.
that makes like artifacts and enchantments, creatures, and you swing.
Yeah, it makes non-creature things into creatures that you like, basically turning trash into treasure.
Okay.
There's a
and-
squirrel commander deck, which
right.
is not unheard of. There's
Squirrels are about making more squirrels.
There's the
The otter deck, or is that not?
it's raccoon, squirrel, rabbit, and a crane. I don't remember
Rabbit.
what
The crane, I
does.
think, is the group hug. But anyway, yeah.
The bunny is the group.
The
hug.
bunny is group hug. So, yeah, Bloomborough looks amazing. It looks great. It's actually probably the first time I'm going to spend money on sealed Magic product in a long time. So,
And then immediately after Bloomborough, we go to Duskmourn, which I'm excited for more than Bloomborough, which is more so like think of like modern horror.
Okay.
Like the entire plane is set in this like giant manor,
Okay.
and each room is like interconnecting different themes. There's like a lot of like demons and
Karlov's
like,
Manor, but doesn't suck. That's
Yes.
what you're
Okay.
saying. Yeah.
Okay.
that's the set I'm more so excited for.
Well, I'm super stoked for Bloomborough just because it's the most different thing they've done in a very long time.
Yeah, that is a very different thing. Because most like generic fantasy stuff that they do with Magic, just I look at it and my eyes roll back.
It
like
is
I don't.
a lot of the time the most generic thing, depending on what.
The crane deck is tokens. Make offspring go wide.
Oh, okay. Nice.
Okay.
So some things to be angry and happy about with Magic the Gathering coming up.
Yeah. So
That first part took all the joy out of that second part for me.
No.
Like fucking A.
yeah,
Like
it's
like
corporations are going to be greedy.
yeah, like we're still eventually going to do our Brady and me in Magic stuff. I kind of don't want to, like, if you guys want to still talk about Magic, that Assassin's Creed situation makes me fucking sick.
Well, yeah.
That's less than half a pack
It's
for more than what you were paying. Like, and again, the whole universe is
Right.
beyond bullshit. No,
Right.
you just did Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
You've done Warhammer.
Fallout was regular.
Doctor Who.
Yeah, Doctor Who, Fallout was regular.
Fallout was regular. I would
Yeah.
argue Fallout might have a better cachet than Assassin's Creed. Maybe.
Right.
Might not be. Don't know. But the fact that less than half a pack for more
Right.
than what a pack costs, with less packs in the box, fuck that. Like
yeah.
everything that I've my thoughts on it for Bloomborough echo y'all's exactly.
Right.
I love the frog artwork. I've always did. But no, if that company's doing that with one other product, like fuck that. No, I'm out. I'm fucking out. Yeah, just I'm sorry to be a downer about that. That
no, it's
really,
no, I mean it does.
that really, that
you
really
heard
caught-
how upset I was about
that
it.
caught
so.
me right
it
under the
sucks.
fucking
Like
skin.
you're not. Like yeah, it really sucks.
Like we bitch about Games Workshop all the time about them raising prices and stuff, and even then, while I look at it with one eye open, one eye just kind of cross at it. Like you can make Brexit has fucked over British companies as far as shipping, so prices might have to go for that.
Right.
Again, I'm looking at that one eye open, one eye kind of just cross at it, but it's still a gradual uptake. Whereas that is just literally we just slash off half the forest and hand you nothing but scraps. No, that move is just fucking stupid. I just
It's also like it shows a couple of other things. Like looking at it from like outside of the pricing of it. If I look outside of the pricing of it, I could understand putting less cards in a pack for experimenting. Sure, right? Trying something different. Sure. The price point is one of the main problems with it, because I look at it and I go, well, I can understand that they're putting out so much product. There's like 4 Universes Beyond sets in the past 6 months. Eventually you run out of design space, right? Like cards you only have so many cards that do so many different things to where they start being similar. So you come out with a set and you're like, okay, instead of having like 250 to 300 new cards, which Lord of the Rings was ridiculous. Lord of the Rings had the most new cards out of any set they have done in a while, because typically they put some reprints in.
Yeah.
Lord of the Rings was almost all new cards, which is like unheard of. And probably one of the best sets they've done in a long time, not just Universes Beyond.
It is by far the best set that they've done. However, more than likely, you're never going to see any type of reprint from any of those cards ever again.
Unless they get the licensing and do another one, because of how successful it was, that might happen again. It might, but yeah, the fact that they charge the price they're charging for the less is fucking ludicrous. It's absolutely disgusting.
It is.
yeah.
Anyway,
On that note,
Well,
Brady.
Hope you enjoyed our Magic the Gathering corner here. We've sectioned off our show so that if you don't care about wrestling, you don't care about Magic the Gathering, you can just skip forward. Now we're going to talk about what I've been doing, because Ethan tried to introduce me and then I stepped all over it, and now I'm just going to keep going. So Just two of the things real quick. I kind of would have liked to have talked about Age of Sigmar 4th edition because it's basically half fully released right now, technically. But hopefully we can, in the next little bit, we can actually get some games in and really talk more about the actual experience. But I did a little bit of painting this weekend. Painted up my Professor X, which was actually it's a proxy model. It's not the actual model that you get from the Crisis Protocol box because I don't particularly want the Shadow King because he doesn't go in anything that I have. Maybe when I get into Brotherhood, I'll actually get him. But it was pretty fun. I started with him because he's annoying because I couldn't fully put him together because his top half so he had his chair and then he had his actual top half of his body separate, and I couldn't really put them together and paint it to any decent way. So that was annoying. So I was like, well, let me paint this real quick and get it done. And I think I did a pretty good job on it. It was not a super detailed go around of it, although I did do some finer highlights than I have in the past. But I think he turned out all right. So I got that done. Then I also finished the Lost Metal, which is the Brandon Sanderson book. It's a really good end for Era 2 of Mistborn. There was a lot of little things that I liked, and they're definitely hinting towards the next era, which is probably going to be a couple of 100 years in the future, which is going to be very interesting, or at least a little while in the future, but they have hinted at like probably what the problems that they're going to have to deal with.
That man is insane.
Yes.
Like
his output is ridiculous.
He's like some people would just be like focused on trying to finish like one series. He's doing like multiple series at one time.
Yes.
Because you have like Stormlight, then you have Mistborn, and then is there something else that he's doing?
Dude. So the amount of series that he has is like ridiculous, and just standalone books. Like during COVID, he just wrote 4 books and put them on Kickstarter and made like $500,000.
Oh,
like it was
man.
fucking ridiculous. Probably more than that, I think. It was fucking ridiculous. Yeah, and he just wrote 4 books, and he apparently, they're called secret projects, and apparently he has a couple more that he wrote that are coming out on Kickstarter pretty soon. He finished up the 5th book of the Stormlight Archive, which is over 1,000. Every book is over 1,000 pages.
Jesus.
He has a process, and he just can write. Like he has a team of people who keeps it to where all he has to worry about really is writing. Like he has his own like publishing. Like it's crazy. But yeah, the man is a machine.
Yeah, he saved an old a couple years ago. He saved an old book binding factory from going out of business because he wanted to do special edition hardcover books. Mm-hmm. And so he had this like one crew like do the Kickstarter for it, and because of how successful it was, they're not going to close.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah, those special editions were pretty expensive.
Well, yeah.
Probably not for if you actually go into book collecting, but like for just me going, this would be nice.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, fuck that.
You're like a couple $100.
Yeah. But they were like leather bound and like super nice.
Oh, yeah. Gold leaf and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, Lost Metal, really good. I've liked the Mistborn stuff. This is the 7th book of that series. Even though like it's a trilogy and then it's a quadrilogy, and to really get the most out of the second part, you really have to read the first part because there's just some like cameos that you won't understand. But you could just read that trilogy and it's good, and you could stop there. Like I was perfectly fine with that being it, and then they were like, oh, it's set in the future, further into the future. Okay, well I'll keep reading this. This is fine. But yeah, he has like tons and tons of of series and then standalone books and stuff like that. But the next thing of his that I'm really looking forward to is the 5th book of the Stormlight Archives. I've only read one of his secret project books. I need to get those and read the other 3 and read them. Because the one that I read was really good, but yeah, that was good. And then this weekend I went to the theater and saw 2 movies. The first one was the new Yorgos Lanthimos movie, Kinds of Kindness. For anybody who is wondering who the fuck is Yorgos Lanthimos, did I make those words up? No, he is a director. He's done things like The Lobster. The most recent thing that he did was the Oscar-winning Poor Things. This is what Emma Stone won her Oscar for.
Her second Oscar.
Second Oscar. She's been nominated several times for his movies. She's been in a lot of his movies, actually. It's either Colin Farrell or Emma Stone has been in most of his movies. They're one or the other is going to be in there. It's a Yorgos Lanthimos movie, so it's super weird. It's basically an anthology movie. There's 3 stories, and they don't really have anything to do with each other except that the same people play different characters. They always play a different character, and it's a wildly different story. But the core is like it's Emma Stone, Jesse Plemons,
Margaret Qualley, Joe Alwyn,
and Hong Choi. Those are like the main 4 that are in every story, and they're usually like the main characters. There's a couple of characters there's one guy who shows up in every single one of them, and he's actually the same character, but he never speaks. From what I've read, that's just a friend of Yorgos Lanthimos's, but he's the thing that kind of ties them together. All the stories are, again, really, really weird. I don't want to really go over what they are because I want to. Margaret Qualley, she's the 5th person that's in all of them.
There's also Willem Dafoe.
Yeah, Willem Dafoe. I think I said him, or did I say somebody else? Willem Dafoe is in all of them. But yeah, they play wildly different people. Jesse Plemons is like the main character in 2 of the 3 stories. He's really good. He's a great actor. I'm glad that he's like getting more like roles where he's not just a character kind of in the background. He's actually getting to do some stuff. I think he's great. He's always good at playing this weird little freak dude. But yeah, it's a weird movie. You're not going to understand everything. I don't understand why they're together. Why all these 3 stories are together. Like, you can understand what's happening. It's just like why it's happening is just so bizarre. They're bizarre. But it was a very interesting movie. I don't think it's my favorite of his movies that I've seen, but it's still pretty good. And aggressively, what's the word? A very aggressive in your face score, if you could even call it that. It kind of attacks you. Like, you feel attacked whenever any kind of quote unquote music comes on the screen. But it's a really, really good movie. I enjoyed it. And then I watched the end of a trilogy, which is the movie Maxine.
Ooh.
Which this is the Ty West's X trilogy, I guess is what you would call it.
Yeah.
First one being X, second one Pearl, and the third one is Maxine. Maxine is a character that was in X. And this fast forwards to the 80s, where she is trying to she's been working in porn and she's trying to break into actual acting. And it's very, very 80s. Something that I like about this trilogy is that every movie has kind of really felt like it's in this time
period.
Like X felt like a 70s slasher. Pearl felt like it was something that was
Wizard of Oz-ish?
With this Technicolor, yeah, it felt like it was something in that 1920s time period. Just, you know, if we would have had color back then, this is what it would have looked like. And it was very Technicolor and bright. And that's also kind of got a slasher vibe to it. And then this one feels like an 80s slasher. The people around her start dying, there's also a mention of this is the same time that the Night Stalker, she's in LA, so this is the same time that the Night Stalker is going around. So you're kind of wondering if that character, if the Night Stalker is the one doing this and stuff like that. but yeah, it's very interesting. Mia Goth is great. She is really good in horror movies. The character is really great. Yeah, it just feels like it's very good at embodying that 80s feel. It's a very, very interesting movie, and I enjoyed it. I think I still like. I think personally, I like X better, and I think that Pearl is probably the best of the three.
I just love it when they can encapsulate like day horror.
Yeah,
You know, and they do that.
yeah. But yeah, everybody is really good in this movie. It's got what's his name? Billy Cannavale is like a cop, and his partner is Megan Monaghan. They're really good. Yeah, it's you got
From the trailer, was it Kevin Bacon or
Kevin
it is
Bacon's
Kevin
in
Bacon?
it. He
Okay.
is hamming it the fuck up. He plays like a Louisiana detective, and he is just chewing scenery, and it's great. We got Giancarlo Esposito's in there. He's playing a really kind of campy-ish role, but yeah, it's good. It's fun. I really enjoyed it, and it was a fitting into the trilogy. I like Ty West. I think he's a pretty good director. I need to watch some of his other movies. I think one that I really wanted to watch, I think, was called House of the Devil. I've heard really good things about that. I've watched The Sacrament. The Sacrament is great. The Sacrament is basically if Jonestown was a found footage movie.
Oh shit.
The guy who plays the Jim Jones character, I think that's
He's the
the
guy
attendant
who
who plays the coin game
coin
with
flip guy
Anton Chigurh in No Country for Old Men.
Old Men.
Yeah,
And he is really good.
yeah, he's exceptional in that
He's
one. Like,
really good in The Sacrament. But yeah, so that's pretty much what I've been doing. Watched two good movies. I wanted to watch Maxine a lot, and I figured that Kinds of Kindness wasn't going to make it for very many weeks. But it's actually still showing this weekend, so I'm surprised. I thought that it was going to be a one weekend movie. But yeah, Kinds of Kindness was it Kinds of Kindness? Yeah, that one was annoying because there was somebody to my left. I haven't ever had a bad experience in the Cinemark, but there was to my left there was a couple, and one of them just kept texting on her phone, and I was like, "Bitch, stop it!" Like the movie is playing, and then the people in front to the left just decided that they were going to talk most of the time. But like when the third story started, they got up and left. So I guess they didn't like the movie. So good. But yeah, but other than that, I enjoyed, both movies. Check them out if you want to see something weird, or, check out the other two of the X trilogy. They're very good, I think. And I think, they're very interesting. So yeah, that's what I've been doing.
Yeah, I love those other two movies.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see Maxine soon.
Maxine is really, really good.
The first one was X. The second one was Pearl.
Pearl.
Yeah.
Mhm. Pearl is basically the origin story of
The farmhouse.
the main bad people in the first one.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And then Maxine is continuing the story of the main character from X.
Okay, gotcha.
A few years later.
and Mia Goth is all of them.
Yeah,
Yes.
Mia Goth is the star of all of them. She even is in old woman makeup in Pearl in X, which I didn't realize until after after I'd already watched the movie. Because it's always seen in darkness, like you never see her clearly. So even if it's like not good,
It was
makeup,
for me. I only caught it because I didn't know who the character was supposed to be at the time. But the scene they're filming at night, when they have this shot through the window where the old lady, you could see like her and the old lady like kind of lock eyes. And there's like I was like, oh, is that Mia Goth?
I did not pick up with it.
That was the
until
only
the end.
time that I kind of like try to put those together. But yeah.
I think what I'll do is I'll probably watch Pearl and then X. Probably.
You need to watch X first.
I think you can watch Pearl without watching X, but Pearl is a weirder movie.
It's way weirder.
Pearl, like X is fairly standard. I think they do some interesting things. It kind of feels like Texas Chainsaw without being Texas Chainsaw.
Right.
But Pearl is just a really weird movie.
It's out there.
Gotcha.
In a good way, though.
Maxine and X are going to feel closer
in similarity.
in similarity than Pearl is to either of those. Like it is just a wildly different movie. It is very, very, very weird. So just keep that in mind. Although I think that is Mia Goth's best performance of the three.
Yeah.
There's a monologue towards the end that is
You got to keep
haunting.
watching. You got to keep watching through the credits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you can. That's
Make eye contact the whole time.
yeah. So yeah, that's what I've been doing. So we're gonna move forward, and the next thing is I speak to Jay and ask him
Feedback?
Do we have feedback?
Not this week, gentlemen, but ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being passengers on the bus this week. If you have any feedback for us, whether it is for this episode or for an episode previous, travelers on the omnibus at gmail.com. Again, that is travelers, 1L on the omnibus at gmail.com. Jody, how else can they engage with us?
Hit the echo. Spotify. You can directly message us through Spotify, take part in any polls, and so there it is.
There you go. And ladies and gentlemen, if you've liked what you've heard from us and you'd like to share that with friends, but they don't listen on to podcasts on the same channels you do, again, we're available on Amazon, YouTube Music, Spotify, and Apple. Awesome.
And with that, I think that will put us in our main topic. We're going to continue our episode tonight with our third film in the Ghibli July, Princess Mononoke, from 1997. This would be the first of Miyazaki's final films. He will continue that tradition over and over again, but we're going to start out with the first of those.
He retired more than Terry Funk did.
This is true. And he will probably continue to do that until he dies at his little art station. So, yeah.
I like how this, before the movie actually starts, you get this little nice icon of G-Kids for Ghibli Kids movies.
Oh, yeah. They're the distributors of the Ghibli movies right now. They're the reason that they're affordable, because they used to not be. When Disney was putting them out. This is like the first one that Disney, I believe, puts out, because by now Miramax was bought out by Disney, if I'm not mistaken. This is also the film that we talked about, I believe, last time, where during Nausicaa, when Nausicaa was cut to ribbons and they sent Harvey Weinstein that piece of shit. For this one, they had it in their contract, and they also sent him a sword that had engraved in it "no cuts."
No cuts.
And it was actually released completely
Uncut.
completely uncut.
Yeah.
So we actually this is a lot of people's first taste of Ghibli. Because Castle in the Sky didn't really come out, and Nausicaa was in such a different version of it.
Right.
It wasn't until later that
2001.
Yeah, it wasn't until later. Yeah, 2001 till people saw that. So Princess Mononoke, usually this is most people who grew up in that time period. This is their first one. I remember like seeing posters for this, but this was not the first one that I watched. So yeah. We begin, as all great movies should, with Keith David narration.
My actual note, Keith David is your narrator. You've scored 300 of the 100 points you need to pass this course. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, we're good. Okay, this is a good movie already.
Yeah. We get introduced to Prince Ashitaka, who is voiced in this one by Billy Crudup.
This is one of the most 90s, and because it came out in the 90s, but this is one of the most 90s voice casts.
Right.
We're gonna make, because we mentioned Keith David, but just to single out a few people, you mentioned Billy Crudup, Claire Danes is San. In a pre-Bender, pre-Jake the Dog, you have John DiMaggio primarily voicing Gonza, but also by having a few other select voices in there. Tara Strong is Kaya, who is Ashitaka's sister.
Yeah.
The big ones for me, Gillian Anderson from the X-Files. That is the wolf goddess Moro. You have Billy Bob Thornton as Jiko.
Yeah.
You
That's
have
perfect casting.
Yes, yeah. He pulled me away from the movie. We'll get that when Jiko comes on.
A little bit, yeah. But
Jada Pinkett Smith is Toki, the wife of the not the board
Very
driver.
sassy.
Yeah, very sassy girl. And Minnie Driver is Lady Eboshi.
yeah.
And just like the 90ness of this cast immediately stuck out to me.
Very. But yeah, he's riding around on this elk, this red elk. It's very striking. He's barefoot during this whole scene, so keep that in mind as we keep talking about it. That's one thing I know is like this motherfucker is barefoot the whole time, and you think, oh, he goes barefoot. No, this is the only time he's barefoot, and then he gets cursed. Coincidence? I think not. So he kind of senses
bare feet equals you get cursed.
Yeah. So he kind of senses something. He goes to this watchtower. And sees something coming, and it's this really gross, disgusting worm demon.
It's just a mound of worms, just
black
kind of like
mound of worms with red eyes in the middle of it.
Very Nausicaa.
Yeah, very
Gross.
Nausicaa. Very, very gross. And this thing starts attacking, and it's a really cool sequence where it's in the shadow in the tree line. As it comes out of the tree line,
It's exposed to the sun.
The worms all pull back as it's exposed to the sun. You see it. Oh, this is this giant boar.
That is now turned into a demon.
Yeah, this turned into a demon. It knocks over the watchtower with Ashitaka and an old dude in it.
It grows some really weird like appendages.
It grows appendages. It doesn't move like a boar. Like it crawls with these appendages. It's very, very.
It's almost
weird.
as if like these worms are kind of like surrounding this boar and just taking its own form.
Yeah, almost like taking it over.
Yeah.
And we get it starts running towards the village. Ashitaka tries to stop it.
As it's about to attack his sister,
Yeah.
he kind of like intervenes and
Before this, he's riding and he's telling it like, "Hey,
Go back to the
boar god,
forest."
please go back to the
Right.
like he." A thing that a lot of Miyazaki protagonists like to do is violence is an absolute last resort. Now he doesn't stick to this for reasons we'll get to that, but he tries to like calm it and not kill it. And like Ethan said, his sister's running away. She trips and he has to actually kill it to stop it, but not before it like grabs onto his arm. And
burrows
like the worms kind of like burrow into it. And yeah, he kills it. It falls down. All the worms like fall away. The kind of old woman leader of the village comes in riding on somebody's back. It's really weird.
Hi, Sama.
Yeah. And she apologizes like, "Hey, we're sorry that we had to kill you."
Paying respect to the boar.
Yeah,
we're gonna
paying respect.
Yeah.
We're going to build a mound here in remembrance of you. And then the boar before it dies tells her like,
creatures.
"Yeah, you will suffer as I have suffered. My hate and rage will burn
Pass
you all.
on, yeah.
Will pass on."
Yeah.
And then it immediately skeleton.
Yeah, and it immediately becomes a skeleton. Like Jesus, if I was like 8 watching this, I would have. This is a PG-13 movie, and it earns its PG-13.
Yeah, because like
rating.
once the demon worms like dissipate from its body like immediately decomposes.
Yeah, it decomposes instantly and becomes a skeleton.
And one other thing, like as this like monstrous thing is like crawling and running all over the place, everything it touches immediately
it
decays.
dies.
The grass that it touches dies.
Like,
the
there's, like-
trees that it touch die.
Like there's tunnels, like trenches, like burrowed
Yeah.
into the ground as it
and like
moves.
the worms are like coming off and like burrowing into the ground. It's really gross and disgusting.
It's very disturbing.
Ashitaka finds out, like he pulls back where it touched him, and there's a giant black mark on it.
Yeah, the elder lady's like, nobody get next
Yeah,
to it.
nobody touch it. They immediately
Pour
start
some
like
water
trying
on
to
it.
yeah, they start
Pour
pouring
some
water
water
on
on
it and grabbing earth and like putting it on there. His sister like starts putting it on there as
Ashitaka
well.
just grabs some grass and is rubbing
Yeah.
it in.
But yeah, the lady is like, hey, nobody touch him because the arm's cursed. Then they have a little meeting where we get a little bit of exposition.
Yeah.
That, to be honest, is a little clunkily done, but it doesn't really matter.
Right.
Where they basically tell him like, hey, we were pushed out here to the east, and we have to and we had to like and we were barely surviving here, and now the wise woman like reads some stones. She throws some stones and sees his fortune,
Right.
and is like, hey, you have to leave here and never return.
Right. Because you're going to die.
Because you're going to die. This curse will eventually spread and eat you alive, and you will die.
But this doesn't mean that you can't take action.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
But you can't be here anymore. You have to cut your top knot, and you have to leave. And we were looking in the bore, and we found this just
Iron
golf
ball.
like hard like softball
it's like
size.
a baseball size.
It's really big.
It's like baseball size
iron
piece
ball.
of iron in there. It's like, this is what killed him. This is what
Poisoned the
This is what
boar.
poisoned him and turned him into a demon of rage. Go just start heading west, and you'll figure out like where this came from.
It was like face your fate, or
face your
or
fate.
just stay and die, or something, or whatever she said. Yeah.
This is
he can rise to meet his fate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They also mentioned, this is something that gets repeated a couple of times. You have to go west and see with eyes unclouded by hate. This is kind of like one of the thesis statements of the movie. So yeah, he has to leave. He never returns. But as he's like, and they say, we can't even watch you leave. You just have to go. So he starts heading out, and his sister comes up to him and is like, hey, you can't do this. You're gonna get in trouble. And she's like, I don't care.
Yeah.
And she gives him her necklace, which has like a crystal, like very small dagger tied to it. And he goes off, and he just starts heading west, and we get kind of a montage of traveling.
In the first 10 minutes of this movie, Ashitaka loses everything.
Yeah.
Yes.
Everything. This movie has another 2 hours and 4 minutes, and
Right.
we're already
Yeah.
beyond zero.
He's lost everything, is cursed, is going to die, is barefoot.
Yeah. Well, he puts on shoes now.
Yeah.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah. He puts on shoes. He's got a cool little red hat that you can put up as a mask. He's got this weird jacket of straw that kind of covers him. He looks really cool, to be honest. Very striking figure on his red giant elk. So we get kind of a montage of him traveling. I will say, this is like one of the most action-packed Miyazaki movies.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of
absolutely.
There's really not much in the way of breathing room in this movie.
Not
like
really.
It starts and it just keeps going. This is one of the few moments of that where it's just him traveling.
because we're about to get into not
yeah.
traveling.
Yeah. He eventually comes upon a battle where, he calls it a battle, and then it's like, no, it's a massacre, because there's just these samurai attacking this village, and they're just murdering people. And he's like, well, I have to intervene. I have to stop them. And he goes and he draws his bow and his arrow, and he shoots one guy who is attacking this old woman with a sword.
And there's something like whatever is in his arm is fueling this,
Right.
And it's
his arm like
Tingles.
moves and
Yeah.
shakes through his. He's wearing kind of like a sleeve over it, but you can see it like shake and grow and like move around. You pretty much get the idea that the curse is fueled by hatred and conflict,
Right.
And anger. So the more that of that is around, the stronger it gets, and that
Which
you kinda
explains
prove that.
how he's able to like shoot an arrow and shoot somebody's hands clean
the
off.
guy has the sword over his hand, and I think he's just trying to shoot the sword out of his hand, which he's a really good shot.
Yeah.
And it takes both of the guys' forearms off.
yes, and
they-
clips them to a tree.
They fly.
clips him
They
to
fly
a tree.
onto a tree.
This is
15 minutes
This
into
is
the
hands down the most violent.
Miyazaki.
Ghibli
Yeah,
movie.
Ghibli,
yeah.
and this includes a movie that has the firebombing of Japan and nuclear weapons detonated.
Yeah. He shoots another guy's head off.
Yeah.
People are like calling him a demon now.
Yeah, and then they're like looking, oh shit, look at this guy, we have to chase him. So
I'm not chasing that dude. Did you
Yeah.
see what he did? The first 2 arrows, not even like multiple arrows. The first 2 arrows led to a man being armless, and the second
headless.
one's just dead.
Decapitated.
Decapitated by arrow.
and then I think he shoots a third guy's head off too.
that happens later.
For
I
you
think.
first-person shooter fans out there, basically Ashitaka's Shroud. Like he's just like it's like he has flick reflexes like you wouldn't believe. Headshots everybody. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. So he eventually gets away from them, and he comes upon this other village where he's trying to get some rice, and he's trying to pay for it with just nuggets of gold, and the lady doesn't understand what gold is. She's like, "Hey, this isn't money. What the hell are you doing?" And this is where we meet Jigo,
Voiced by Billy Bob.
voiced by Billy Bob Thornton. Jigo is a scumbag, and you get this because he's voiced by Billy Bob Thornton.
He claims to be a monk.
He claims to be a monk. He's got these weird sandals with the you see
The elevated-
the like elevated sandals where it's just like a piece of wood, and then there's a vertical piece of wood that's like way too long for him. He carries this umbrella. He calls himself a monk, but he's very like cynical and pragmatic. And he goes up and is like, "Hey, you don't know what this is. This is gold. In fact, I tell you what, I'll take this gold, and you can and then pay you for the rice, and I'll just keep it. And that's about 3 bags of rice, right?" And then the lady like finally gets it, like, "Oh,
She's
shit."
like, "Oh, but this, what are you doing? That's my gold."
And then by the time they've already walked away.
Yeah.
He talks. He starts walking with Ashitaka, and tell him like, "Hey, I saw all that shit that you did in that battle. You're really strong. You want to join up with me?" And Ashitaka's just like, "Yeah, I don't give a fuck you. Like, I don't care."
Right.
Then this is when they see some thugs following them.
Yeah. Well, he also mentions that that hey, join up with me because the Emperor. You've got some gold, and that's cool, but the Emperor has promised a mound of gold to whoever can help him live forever. He also mentions like, "Hey, I've heard of like some people who would ride red elks, and they're not supposed to be alive anymore." And Ashitaka kind of blows them off, and then like Ethan said, he's like, "Hey, these people are following you, and as soon as we stop to sleep, they're gonna slit our throats and steal it. You probably shouldn't have flashed all that gold around." So then they're like, "Hey, let's just outrun them." So Jigo starts running, and Ashitaka jumps on his elk, and they run off. And then they got a campfire going. This is the one time. So I talked about how food in Ghibli movies. This is the one time where we get a little bit of food. There's not much in here, but Jigo mixes the rice with this. He just keeps pulling out ingredients. I don't know what the fuck they are, but he makes this little soup stew looking thing that looks pretty good. And he's talking to him. He talks about the spirit of the forest, and giant beasts. And it's just telling him a little bit about the area, like, "Hey, this forest is guarded by spirits, and and gods, and we need to watch out." Earlier, it was mentioned, I believe, in the narration about a time when the animals were gods, and they were basically like so much larger than they are now,
And not stupid.
not stupid.
It talked that at one point, these giant gods and humans, they used to live in harmony,
Coexist.
But
kinda.
then as things change and as people evolve and progress with their improvements, then it's now just become gods and demons.
Yeah, one of the thesis of this movie is like industry like destroys the balance of the world. And again, this is one of those Miyazaki themes where living in harmony and balance is the better thing.
Right.
Ashitaka comes from a place where they live in balance and they respect nature.
Right.
And they have their own area, but they also, they respect the natural world.
Right.
Then we cut to and we were introduced to Lady Yaboshi, who there's a supply train of oxen carrying rice, and these wolves attack, and they just start fucking shit up. Knock some people. It's like a mountain pass, and they like knock some people over the side. And and then we have they're giant wolves, but then we get an even bigger wolf.
Yeah.
That attacks from the front, and we find out later that this is the wolf goddess Moro, and Lady Eboshi actually shoots Moro.
Yes.
We see that like the people defend themselves because they have these like primitive looking guns. These are like this is like a they're basically just like cannons on sticks, and they stick a flame in there to ignite the powder.
Well, this is also our introduction to Princess Mononoke, because she's riding one of the smaller wolves in this.
Yeah,
scene.
we also see a girl riding one of the wolves
She's wearing a mask.
She's wearing a mask with like a big white fur thing around her. We don't see her face yet.
No.
Yeah, and then we come back to Ashitaka. He's left Jigo, like it's morning, and he's left Jigo sleeping. Although Jigo sees him go, then we come to a river, and then across the river he actually sees San with her mask off.
She's nursing her mother,
and she's nursing her mother, trying to suck the bullet out of her chest, where she was shot. And really striking shot, because she turns around and looks at him. She's got blood all over her face.
Yeah,
she like spits the blood out. And he's like, "Hey, what's happening?
Are you the gods?
Are you the gods
we've heard of?"
She's like, "Go away."
Yeah, and she just says, "Go away," and they take off. Ashitaka then finds some men in the river. These are the ox drivers who were knocked off
from the Iron City.
Yeah. He finds two that are alive. One is really injured and barely like hanging on, and the other guy is his arm and his leg are fucked up, but he's still like pretty lucid.
Right.
And he decides to rescue them, and there's another thing that like heroes do is in Miyazaki movies is they help people regardless of if they're good or bad. We saw this with Nausicaa as well.
Yeah, and soon after he helps those guys out, like the other guy that's like a little bit better off or whatever starts freaking out.
Yeah, because
he can see the bobbleheads.
Yeah, he realizes that they're going through through the jungle, which you've been told a couple of times, people don't make it out through this jungle.
Right.
Human beings don't make it through the jungle. And he starts seeing these little white creatures with weird shaped heads, and we find out they're Kodama. We find this out from
Spirit of the Trees.
Spirits of the Trees. And these are kind of like the mascots of Princess Mononoke. There's these little white looking things with weird heads, and they have spots on their face, and their heads will move, and they will make this shaking. It almost sounds like a maraca, or some
something
instrument, like
similar,
almost like a rain stick, but like harsher. And
they move very much like bobbleheads, but like very erratic.
They turn their head in slowly, and then they start to shake.
Yeah,
and from the Kodansha book, Studio Ghibli: The Complete Works. The Kodama, one of Studio Ghibli's most popular creations, came out of Miyazaka's pondering of how to embody the spiritual significance of the forest. Inspiration struck when he peered down the length of a fluorescent light tube, suggesting the shape and color of what would come to be the Kodama.
Oh, okay.
So that's why they had that translucentness, that glow to them, and also that kind of green tinge, because if you had a fluorescent light kind of there, it would kind of show off the green tinge of the forest.
Okay.
That's interesting. I
like it.
Ashitaka is very respectful of them. The guy's freaking out, but he's like, they're gonna kill us.
Yeah, they're gonna draw in something worse.
Yeah, something worse is gonna come, and they're gonna kill us.
Yeah.
But Ashitaka is really respectful to them, so they kind of lead him through the forest. We eventually get to like the tree that he's like, oh, this is your mother, and it's all big, giant, cool looking tree. Ashitaka decides to like, hey, we need to rest a little bit, because he's literally one of the guys. The guy who's lucid, he's riding on the elk. The other guy, he's literally carrying through the forest. He's carrying this guy on his back. So he's like, "Hey, we need to rest because I'm tired. And if we we got to make it through because this guy doesn't have very long." So they stop at at this I believe it's at a pool, right? This is not the pool that we see later, but
it's like a little piece of land in the middle of the water, but not quite the same as we'll see later. He puts his arm in the water here, doesn't he?
Yeah, he puts his arm in the water, his cursed arm. And then he through the trees, there's this really cool close up that you really don't see in like animated movies very often, where he sees something in the distance and then it pulls through the trees, and you just see like there's this bright light backlit, and you just see like deer coming through, and then all of a sudden you see this really weird looking deer with like antlers going all over the place. And it stops and looks. And we find out later this is the spirit of the forest that they keep talking about. And it stops, and then it keeps going, and then the light fades. He sees the spirit, as he sees the spirit, his arm starts freaking out and like moving on its own. And he has to basically like stop it.
Right.
He has to like hold it still. And then after this, then we get to where we actually see Irontown. And all the area around Irontown has been cut away. There's no trees. Irontown's kind of on a big hill or mound.
Yeah.
It has both palisade and fusillade walls.
Yeah.
Like you have to go through the fusillade spikes to get to the palisades just to climb them in order to get up through It's impossible. No one can climb that. Foreshadowing is a literary device. No.
Yeah. So yeah, they can see him coming from like very far away, and this is where we also we meet Toki, who is the other guy, the guy who is husband Kuroku. This is his wife, and we meet this other guy who is kind of like the second in command for Lady Eboshi, who stops them, and he's like, "Hey, this guy can't come in. I don't trust him. Fuck this guy." And Toki tells him off. She is very, very sassy. She basically tells him like, "Hey, you were supposed to be protecting all these people and you failed. He brought these people back. He's a good guy." And as they're still arguing, Lady Eboshi like shows up in this very regal kimono. One thing of note, Lady Eboshi wears lipstick in this, and she is one of the very few Studio Ghibli characters where you actually can tell that she has lips. Most of the way that they draw other Ghibli characters, you can't see their lips actually. At least if it's drawn in that quote unquote Ghibli style. Now that I have brought it up, you will never not see it. You're welcome. So yeah, yeah, all the women are kind of hot for Ashitaka. He's sitting there eating with the men.
Yeah, I think one of the chicks, she's like, "You're not handsome. You're gorgeous."
Yeah, because he had his face covered.
Right.
And she was like, the first thing she says is like, "Hey, show us your face. I bet you look hot." Even though she's married.
Right.
All the women are very like progressive, let's just say.
I'll come out and say it. They are brothel girls, all of them.
Well, yeah, we find out as he's eating with the men, we find out that Lady Eboshi goes to like all of the major towns and cities and buys up contracts from the brothel women and brings them to Irontown and gives them work. You find out that like everybody is very high on Lady Eboshi.
Right.
Like it is very close to cult like their feelings toward Lady Eboshi. They feel very, very strongly towards this woman. And this is also where you get the thing where the villain isn't necessarily the worst kind of person.
Right.
I would argue there is no character that is a villain.
Yeah. Well, you start off thinking that it's Lady Eboshi, but then it comes clear that like she is not as bad a person as she first seemed.
Right.
Because everybody does a lot of people do bad things in this movie.
And the traditional bad people actually, like, to go back to Lady Eboshi again, she's buying up these contracts for these brothel girls, and she's not employing them to be brothel girls or to be manipulated or exploited anymore. She's actually using them, though you can maybe argue it's exploitation in a different way. But she's putting them to a quote unquote more honest work.
She is giving them she
Yeah.
is giving them respectful work. She is giving them a purpose other than just selling their bodies. You find out from one of the guys that Lady Eboshi is just basically like started just clearing out everything because they dug all the iron. They dig the iron up from the sand, and then they make bullets and different other things, and they trade that with people, and that's how Irontown's become very powerful.
That's how Irontown got the name Iron Town.
Yeah, they ran out of iron, so they started underneath Irontown. So they started cutting down the forest.
Collecting all the iron ore from the forest.
And the forest creatures did not like this, of course.
Then this is when we are told of Nago,
Yeah.
The boar god that pretty much was the protector of the forest.
Yeah, the protector of the forest. We find out that Lady Eboshi is the one who shot Naga.
Which sends Nago into a rage.
Yeah, which sends him into a rage.
Which then in turn caused Ashitaka's
curse. And he kind of is not happy about this when he finds this out. He goes to see Lady Eboshi. And she basically asked him, because she said, like, hey, later after you eat, come and see me. I want to learn more about you. And she asked him about himself. And he explains to her, like, yeah, I was cursed. And I'm trying to find the spirit of the forest because I think that he can heal me. And she asked him she asked him, like, what are you here for? And he says, to see with eyes unclouded by hate. And she kind of laughs at that. Her second in command he's a doofus. He's an idiot. He's an asshole.
Character's name is Gonza, again voiced by John DiMaggio.
Yeah.
Which again, if you're coming from Futurama or Adventure Time, you're gonna know that voice immediately.
And she was like, well. And he basically like tells her off. He's like, "Hey, what you're doing is wrong. You're fucking with the balance of things. The forest is angry and the forest is dying, and that's not good. That's a bad thing. You have to learn to live in harmony with the forest." And she's like, "Well, I think that I'm doing a good thing, and I'm going to show you what my secret. I'm going to show you a secret place that only that I know about, and I'm going to show you the good things that I have done." And she takes him through the village, through Irontown. He goes by the forge and he stops and looks and you see the women are working.
The bellows, yeah.
Yeah. The women, like, he tells them, like, hey, I'll come see where you work later. And they're like, oh my God, we'll have to work and wear makeup at the same time. It's very funny. All the women are very horny in this. They're very, very horny. So she takes him to her secret area, her garden that she says nobody else can come to. There's a kind of building behind the garden, and we find out that this is where there's lepers. Like she has taken in lepers, which
they're making guns.
They're making and using them to make guns. For some reason, these lepers are really good at making guns.
Except for that one.
Except for the one who is almost dying. He probably doesn't have a face. We don't see this because it's all bandaged up. They're all bandaged up, and you can see that like some of them are like missing some pieces. And this is like, again, like there's a reason why leper like a leper is a saying, because like it's people that you don't associate with, because leprosy is very contagious. You have to be very careful. And the fact that she is taking these people in and giving them a purpose as well, it might not be the greatest purpose, making weapons of war is, could be argued, but she is still taking these people in and treating them like, she doesn't talk down to them. She doesn't treat them like they are less.
She treats everybody very respectfully.
She treats everybody. There is not one person in this human being in this movie that she doesn't treat, like a human being.
She doesn't.
Now, when it comes to like the creatures of the forest,
not so much.
Not so much. I'm sorry, Ethan. What were you saying?
I don't know. Continue.
Okay. They're making a new gun, and she's like, "Oh, this is really good work. It's a little bit heavy," because she doesn't want it for herself. She wants it
for her girls,
for the women,
the women of Irontown, to protect them,
to protect themselves. Like that's kind of what she cares about. You see. She takes it like outside on the ramparts and tests it. She shoots it out into the area where the forest used to be. And as she shoots it, you see like these apes run away.
Oh yeah.
And she's like, oh, every night they come and plant more trees, and we have to like beat them back. And Ashitaka's like, yeah, they're probably doing that for a reason that's not good. So, you know.
Why don't you just let them plant trees?
Yeah, why don't you just let them plant trees? And she's like, well, I have this samurai asshole lord breathing down
Lord
my
Asano.
neck. Asano.
Who we never see.
We never see Lord
We never
Asano.
see him.
Yeah.
We see his. We've already seen his forces earlier in the movie,
Yeah.
but we never actually see Lord Asano himself.
Yeah, he's kind of, we never see him, but he's kind of the only like, and it's just because we never see him and we never get his side of things.
Right.
But he's the only guy that we kind of think, oh, this guy's a piece of shit. But yeah, and after, like, he's really not like Ashitaka when he sees this, and this is before they actually test the rifle. But she tells him, she starts talking to him about like why she's doing all of this, and his arm goes crazy and like reaches for his sword.
And he has to like hold it back with his other hand.
And she's like, "Oh, your arm wants to kill me, doesn't it?" And,
And
like,
then everybody sees it happen too, though. They all
Yeah.
freak out.
and he's like, "Yeah, if I thought it would change anything whatsoever, I would let it just rip you to shreds. But you know that wouldn't be good. I would,
And then people in the village start getting real antsy about that situation.
yeah, they don't like that."
At this moment in time,
Yeah, and this is where Sin decides she's gonna do a little assassination attempt.
time to break in.
Yeah.
What was that about not being able to climb this outside of this building?
Yeah, it's really cool because
Foreshadowing is a literary device. No.
so she's riding on a wolf. She has a spear, and the wolf like basically runs like full speed towards the ramparts, and as soon as it gets to the spiked area, it kind of stops and like catapults her up, and she sticks her spear in and then jumps off the spear and jumps up. The way she moves in this is like very interesting.
Very fluid.
Yeah, it's very fluid, but it is jerky at sometimes.
It is. But stupid fast.
Yeah, stupid fast. She has a knife and she like attacks a dude, knocks him out of the way,
And she's just running past other people.
and she's just like running past other people, and the alarms are all saying. Before this, also Ashitaka goes to the bellows and basically runs one of the bellows. Like there's like 20 girls on a bellow,
Right.
And then he just basically runs it himself. Like he takes off his shirt and it's just like running it his entire self. It's really funny,
especially when the main chick that's I can't remember her name, but
Toki.
Togi.
Yeah.
Togi. She's like, well, you won't be able to keep up that for long.
Yeah.
And he keeps going.
So that's a really cool scene.
Yeah.
But then Sin attacks.
Right.
And everybody's like, oh, she's obviously trying to kill Lady Eboshi. So yeah, she's running through like the rooftops, and Ashitaka is like, oh, I have to get to her.
He comes across the old dude.
Yeah. The guy is like, hey, stay out of this. He goes and sets up they basically like huddle into the square. They all grab weapons. All the women have their naginatas. Dude's got a giant sword.
He bends it though.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
Yeah.
And they kind of basically they set a trap for her,
Right.
where she's like standing up on top of the forge, and then Ashitaka sees like he's on top of the building too, and he
Right.
stops and he runs and he's like, hey, they're gonna shoot you. And then yeah, she runs and jumps down,
And she gets shot right in the face.
They shoot and knock her mask off. And then as she gets up, Ashitaka like rips off a piece of the roof and throws it down to shield her.
Yeah.
And then she runs at Lady. She jumps over the second in command guy, just steps on his face and runs straight at Lady Eboshi. Lady Eboshi, there's a really cool where as she runs there with the dagger, Lady Eboshi like pulls out, like draws her sword and blocks it at the same time. And And then she pulls out this hairpin and starts attacking her with that too. So they're fighting, and Ashitaka sees this and he starts getting very angry.
Right.
And his arm starts like growing. It like
Yeah.
and like
There's like these ghostly like tendrils.
there's ghostly
kinda like-
tendrils that
We
go
have
around him.
we have a slight Akira situation going on with his body.
He's
Yeah.
about to go Super Saiyan.
Yeah, he basically goes Super Saiyan
No,
because
he's about to go Kaneda.
yeah.
No,
So he like just starts walking towards them as they're fighting, and they've got the area where Sin is fighting Eboshi like kind of circled with their spears
Right.
out to basically block her in. And
Gonza kind of like gets in front of him to stop him from coming, and then he just bends his sword.
Grabs
well,
the
he
end
like
of-
takes it with like 2 fingers and then
Right.
just like bends it into a spiral.
Yeah.
Leaves a little like ghostly
Junji Ito,
tendril.
where are you? No.
What was the offhanded remark he said as he's walking past him? I can't
remember. I don't think I wrote that down.
I think he said something like "stand down" or something as he's walking past him. It's something of that caliber.
Yeah.
Stay out of my way, I think.
Yeah, something like that. But he basically like as Eboshi and Sin like back away from each other and go to attack each other, he like basically stops both of them. He has Sin's arm by his cursed arm, and he's blocked
Lady Eboshi.
Lady Eboshi's sword, and he's like, "Hey, this is what hatred looks like. This is what it does, and like, look at my arm. This is killing me because of hatred." And
Lady Eboshi's like, just let me kill her.
yeah, Lady Eboshi is like, "Hey, I'm really getting tired of that cursed arm. We should really just cut it off." And she attacks him.
Yeah.
And he's having to dodge this while Sin is like biting his arm, like trying to get him to let her go. And then the tendrils like start going up around her, and she starts freaking out and trying to get away from him. And then he like dodges Eboshi and knocks her out with his sword, with the handle
back
of his
end
sword.
of his sword.
And then he like pulls in Sin and knocks her out.
All the village girls are like, "Oh my God,
Oh
Lady
shit!
Eboshi.
And he's like, "Hey, I just knocked them out. They're not dead.
Come take her.
You come take her, and then I am leaving with Sin."
You're not leaving after doing that to Lady Eboshi."
Yeah. Also, and this is one of the girls earlier who actually shot Sin is Lady Eboshi. Like specifically brought her out with the rifles because
Yes.
she is one of the
Better.
she is one of the wives of the husbands who were killed
Right.
in that earlier attack.
Right.
And she's like, "You're not taking her because she killed my husband."
Right.
And he's like, "Well, I'm taking her." And he just like starts walking towards the door.
He gives her a look.
Yeah, he
when
stops and gives her a look.
and
And he's like, "Well,"
she's just like shaking with the rifle.
yeah. And somebody's like, "Hey, stop it!" And then she like freaks out and shoots him like right in the fucking
Right in the side.
right in the side.
Yeah.
But he just keeps on walking, and like blood is just like flowing out of him. This is the bloodiest fucking movie. And this is really cool because he makes it to
The gate.
the gate, which is really heavy, and the guards try and stop him. It's like, "Hey, we appreciate what you did, but we can't let you through. Like, there's no way you're going to get through.
Even
Like,
if we wanted to, it takes 10 men
it
to
takes
open
10
this
men
gate.
to open
10
that
men to
gate.
open this." And he's like, "Hey, stop!" And he's just like keeps moving. He just takes his cursed arm and presses it up against the door and starts pushing. And the guy's like, "Hey, stop! You're going to kill yourself." And he just eventually, like, his arm just gets so strong that he pushes the damn thing
As
open.
blood just like pouring out of him.
Blood is just pouring out of him, and he pushes it up. And one of the wolf that was from earlier runs up, and he's like, "Hey, just stop there. I'm going to bring her out." And he opens the door and just leaves.
Insane.
Yeah. Really, really cool scene. But yeah, he as they're so now he's riding with Sin about in front of him on the elk, and he's just blood is continually pouring out, and he eventually she wakes up, and as she wakes up, he basically falls off the elk.
And then the wolf goes right
The
to
wolf goes right fucking to him and starts gnawing his head. And she's like, "Hey, hold on, he's mine." It's very funny. Like, he should not have survived that. That's the one thing that he shouldn't have survived.
any
in
of
this
that,
movie.
yeah.
So yeah, he Sin's angry, doesn't want him to, like, hey, get away from him. And then, like, he starts getting pelted by rocks, and we see that it's the ape tribe.
apes. Yeah.
And they're really, it's nighttime, so this is like they're really weird looking because they're just in shadow with red eyes, and they're talking. But when animals talk in this, like their mouth doesn't move exactly with this, like the mouth they just kind of make these sounds, but their mouths move.
You guys are gonna hate this description from me. They look like certain sections of the den part from Heavy Metal. The apes
okay.
do the shadowy parts of the apes.
I can see that.
Yeah.
No, I could co-sign. on that.
Leave the boy. Let us eat him.
Yeah, they're like, hey, just leave him here and we'll eat him because we're going to take his strength. And she's like, hey, that's stupid. You're not going to take his strength. And he's like, well, the humans keep destroying the forest and we're trying to replant the forest. But if we eat him, then we'll take his strength and then we can kill all the humans and take the forest back. And she's like, hey, you're not going to do that. Like, so all it took was like some dudes threatening to eat Ashitaka, and she's like, no, I'm going to take care of him. So,
Right.
So she tells the wolves, like, hey, go off. I'm going to take him with the elk, and I'm going to take him somewhere that he can get healed.
He saved my life, kind of thing. Yeah.
He saved my life. So she takes him into the forest, and she takes him to this pond or lake or just watery area, and takes him across to this little island. And we find out like this is where, and she kind of just lays him there, and she
Lays him in the water.
She cuts off a branch from one side, and then she takes it and kind of plants it onto the island, and backs off because the elk is like doesn't go onto the island. She's like, oh, you're smart, you know not to go on here,
Right.
and then she kind of backs up, and this is where we see. This is the first time that we actually see the Nightwalker, which is the nighttime form of the spirit of the forest. As at night, he's this huge giant, like see-through, weird-looking creature. And as the day comes, he turns back into the deer,
Deerish
and he
looking
turns
thing.
back on this island. Like this is where he comes to, and this is where he becomes the Nightwalker, and this is where he leaves from being the Nightwalker.
Very translucent glimmer.
Yeah, it's
And a human face.
Yeah. And a human face.
And as he changes back into, he becomes this kind. It's almost like a deer, but with this like human-like face and these weird feet. He doesn't have hooves. He has like toed feet. And wherever he walks, like the grass grows.
Grass and flowers, yeah.
This motherfucker, like in his regular form, is disturbing.
It's very weird.
It's very
weird.
It's very
Yeah.
uncanny valley. Like you're like, oh man, this almost looks human, but it's just different enough to really make me uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Well, it comes from both. This kind of looks like a deer, but it has that human face, or that human face looks very real, but it's attached to the body of a deer. Like it's a
Yeah.
Mobius strip that runs in your head and just creeps you out. Let me say this real quick. They did a really good job with the horror elements of this movie.
Yes.
This
Oh,
movie.
yeah.
Between Nago, the cursed boar, to this part, to the apes. The apes are creepy as fuck.
Yeah, when you see them at night, they're very creepy looking.
Yeah, there are moments of actual horror in this
Yeah.
movie that are just so well done, and
Some parts later are really
yeah,
disturbing.
oh yeah, but we haven't gotten there yet.
Yeah.
Real quick, behind the scenes. 5 art directors worked on this film in order to fully express its important theme on the conflict between nature and civilization. Miyazaki asked the art department to portray a vision of the natural world that would be just as well off without humankind. The Deer God's Forest was based on the island of Yakushima, and the Amishi village where Ashitaka lived was based on Shirakami Sanchi, which is the northeastern part of the Honshu region of Japan.
So, the creature comes and kills the branch that she plants, but then heals him. He wakes up on the other side. He's barely like he's awake, but he's like his eyes are still closed, like he's not good. And
He's still in recovery.
he's still in recovery, and he also sees that like he healed the wound, but he didn't heal
The curse is
the
still on his
curse.
arm.
Song comes back to him, and this is where we meet the boar god Akoto, who is a giant white boar that is completely blind. Also voiced by Keith David. This is like really, really good casting with this. And Sin's like, hey, what the hell are you doing here? Your tribe isn't from this area. and they're like, well, we heard Naga was killed, and we're going to come and we're going to kill all the humans.
We're going to kill the humans.
We're going to take the forest back. And she's like, well, hey, Naga, like, Ashitaka's like, hey, I was the one who ended up having to kill Naga, and I was cursed because of it. He died because he was afraid and he ran away, and that fear and hatred made him turn into a demon. And they're like, hey, we don't believe you. Akoto's like, hey, give that guy to me because we're going to eat him.
Right.
And she's like, no, you can't eat him.
Yeah, the wolves step in too.
The wolves show up. This is where Moro shows up and is like, hey, because they're like, why should we even listen to you? You're a fucking human, Sen. And Moro shows up, is like, hey, this is my daughter. You will treat her like she's my daughter. Like, don't do that. And they basically like come to an agreement that later on they'll meet and talk about attacking the humans and things like that. We also see that Jigo is there. He actually gets to see the forest spirit. He's dressed up in like a bear skin, and there's other people there with him that are dressed up in bear skins. And he's like, okay, yeah, cool. This is where we first hear that like the mission is to get the head of the spirit of the forest, because the spirit of the forest is supposed to, heal all your wounds and keep you alive.
Plus, he also
it makes you immortal.
Makes you immortal.
The blood of the forest spirit is supposed to make someone immortal, and that's what Lord Asano, is that his name?
Lord Asano, yeah.
Lord Asano.
Asano.
That's what he's after, immortality.
And the emperor as well.
Yeah, this is the point where the monk also says, like, why are we wearing these skins? Is like, because you don't want to smell like a human in here.
Also, we find out that as the forest gets destroyed, the animals revert back into.
They start being dumb.
They start being dumb. They shrink in size. They stop being these giant beasts that can think and everything like that, and they become more like the regular animals that we see. Basically hinting that like the animals that we see used to be like that, but because we took over nature so much, they have reverted into these ways. We then see that there are some samurai attacking another rice shipment. Eboshi fights them off. This is also where Eboshi and Jigo kind of meet, and we find out that they have discussed things before. And he's like, hey, now I need your help to go kill the forest spirit. This will finally like keep the animals from attacking Iron Town.
Right.
Which will
allow her to get iron from the forest.
Yeah, this will we'll give you some resources to help you keep. He tells them like, hey, I sent you riflemen, so now you need to like pay up, because these riflemen are helping you keep Lord Asano at bay.
Also, real quick, I think we might have like skimmed over just like a very short thing that was kind of poignant to me, and that was when Princess Mononoke was like nursing him, and they were in the cave together, and the wolf mother was like, "You need to leave by
We
dawn."
haven't gotten there yet.
We haven't got there yet. Okay, my bad. Jumped ahead.
And then Eboshi like actually goes back to Irontown and is like, hey, I got to go help find the spirit and kill it. Because it's going to help us a lot, and I need you women. The women are like, "Hey, we'll go with you," and she's like, "No, you need to stay here and protect Irontown for as long as you can, because Asano might attack." Spoiler alert: he does. So she goes off, and then this is where we get them in the cave, sleeping next to San, and then he kind of wakes up because his arm is like rumbling, and then he goes outside, and he's looking kind of, because it's kind of like a really, really nice view, and he's looking at it, and Moro is there like sitting on top of the cave, and she's like, hey, you could just jump, and then she basically tells him, hey, just kill yourself. It makes things so much easier for me. She talks to him and tells him how that San really cares for him, that she can see it. She doesn't like it. Ashitaka asks like, hey, why can't the humans in the forest live in peace? Moro tells him like, hey, this iron ball that's inside of me is eventually going to kill me. But I swear to God, I'm going to kill that woman before I do.
Right.
She also she tells them this is where we find out about San, that she was a baby and her parents were defiling her a place that was promised to Moro, and Moro attacks them, and they just freak out and just basically throw San at her feet
And then run
off. And she's like, well, I could have killed her, but then I took her in and she became my daughter. And she really does care about her like she is her daughter.
Yeah.
And she tells him like, hey, San is neither wolf nor human. She can't really fully exist in either world.
Right.
It seems.
A note on sound design. I loved the echo that ran alongside the forest god spirits when they were speaking. I think it's another one of those uncanny valley things. Is it moves less to horror in this case, more towards the sublime.
Yeah.
And I think it works really well here. Gillian Anderson's voice was perfect for this.
Yeah, they put a little something on her voice, and it's really the uncanniness is that the mouths will move up and down, but it's not perfectly with the words.
Right. They
They don't pull a Lion King, a live action Lion King where they try and do that because it just doesn't work. But it makes sense as to this is the way if animals could talk, this is how they could talk, because their mouths aren't really made to talk.
And Moro basically tells him that like you have to leave in the morning or I kill you.
Yeah, just be gone by the morning or I'm going to kill you. That was a lie because he wakes up in the morning and they're just gone.
Right.
Like, everybody is gone.
Well, that was the initial plan, but
Yeah.
then we got some other humans we want to be killing.
Yeah. We got there's killing to be done. But Ashitaka kind of makes his way out. Sin earlier had tried to free the elk, but the elk was like, "No, I'm here."
Right.
So the elk stays. Really ballsy for the elk to stay right below a wolf den.
Right.
Really trusting, but he finds the elk and starts riding. Then he comes out to like this like dammed up river looking place, and there's a wolf there, and the wolf kind of leads them. Well, the wolf leads them basically to this river, and then he's like before the wolf leaves, he kind of tells him like, hey, he throws him the crystal dagger necklace, throws it to him, is like, hey, give this to Sin, and the wolf catches it. Wolf's a really good catch. That was a crazy catch that he made, and runs off. Then we see San and Moro and the one of the other wolves like kind of hiding, and they're watching where the boars are going to come out and attack. Right. And they see that they are the humans are building up fires with stuff in it to kill the sense of smell of the animals, so they can't perfectly track everybody.
Right.
And then she kind of sees that it's going to be a trap, and we have to warn them.
Yeah. So Mononoke like tells her mother, she's like, I need to go talk to the boar.
Yeah.
To try and convince him.
Yeah, I have to try.
Because Moro's like, it's pointless now. They're not going to listen to anybody.
Yeah, they're
blinded by rage.
They're blinded by rage. They are not going to listen.
Which Kodo is literally blinded.
Yeah.
And like, so again, like, just if you needed that symbolism perfectly, yeah.
Yeah.
And explosions happen.
Yeah. Well, she also tells him, Moro, before San leaves, the wolf comes and gives her the necklace, and before San leaves, Moro tells her like, hey, that boy wanted to give his life to you,
and basically giving her permission to leave if she wanted to.
Yeah.
And Mononoke's like, why?
Yeah. I don't understand. Yeah. So she goes off. Moro's like, I'm gonna go. I know where Eboshi's headed to. I'm going to go and wait for her because I'm gonna kill that bitch.
Yeah.
Yeah. So while the boars are attacking, they get ready for war. And San shows up and is like, "Hey, we're gonna ride with you. Where's Akoto? I need to be with him." And then we see Boris just getting blown up, and Ashitaka hears that, but then he's near Irontown, so he also hears gunfire from over there.
Right.
And he sees that Irontown is being attacked. So he makes his way, like, Irontown's like right on a river, and he makes his way around the other way kind of from where the from a different way from where the entrance is, and he sees like the samurai are attacking. And the samurai have actually made it inside. But as he comes to the side, like he sees Toki and is like, "Hey, what's going on?" He's like, "Hey, yeah, they attacked. We've fallen back, but we don't know how long we're gonna hold off."
Because Lady Lady Ibushi said that she was going to return after a few days or something like that.
We're trying to hold off. We should be able to hold off, but we really need help. So yeah. So he's like, "Oh shit, I gotta go tell her that you need help." And then he starts getting attacked. These samurai on horses come and chase him. He shoots one of their heads off. No big deal.
With an arrow.
Yeah.
Family friendly.
And as they leap in the river, and as they're going across the river, and they're shooting arrows at him, the elk takes an arrow to the back haunch, so it can barely move. He tells them like, "Hey, they finally get to a place where he's like, "Hey, just wait here," and the elk's like, "No, I'm coming with you." Like the elk is not gonna.
The elk is
him.
determined.
Yeah.
To follow him.
All right, thank you for slowing me down, but okay, I will here take your harness. There you go. Just walk you there. Nab it.
Yeah. So So he comes to the area where the battle happened, and there's just a bunch of dead people and dead boars, like just
everywhere,
just every fucking where.
Oh, it's slaughter. Like it is
slaughter.
complete slaughter.
There's one guy there who is just like holding his head in his hands, like he is completely broken.
Right.
One of the other guys that Ashitaka talked to earlier from Irontown, he comes up and he's like, "Yeah, they basically used us as human shields. They put us out in front, and the monks didn't tell us that there were landmines everywhere.
Right.
And they didn't tell us that they were going to drop grenades on us." And then we cut back to the battle, and it's like there's these monks that are dressed like Jigo, and they are and they're up on a ridge, and there's these like stone bombs that they just kick over and just like blow everything up. And this one monk who's like, I guess the head guy here, he's like, "Hey, what the fuck are you guys doing? You need to get back to work burying these people." Yeah, they're forcing them also to bury the people,
and they start getting pissed.
Yeah, they start getting angry, which is the right move. Ashitaka discovers that one of the wolves is like trapped under a mound of boars.
Yeah,
and he's like, "Hey, we have to get him out of here."
Can you say that again, because that's an evocative phrase? A mound of boars.
A mound of boars.
It's insane. Yeah, again, like this is wholesale slaughter.
Yeah. The wolf is like clawing and scrabbling to try and get out, and he's like, "Hey, I'm gonna lift you out." And the guys are like, "What are you doing? This is crazy." And the monk comes out and is like, "Hey, stop doing that." And then he like brings out a blow dart and like starts shooting it at him. And then they have to get, because it's a movie for younger people, they have to be like, "Oh, those darts are poison."
Yeah.
They're just like, "Yeah, of course." And they finally just like somebody hits him over the head with a shovel and knocks the monk out. And
because he keeps like, it's like, "You get back to burying your bodies of your friends."
The people finally have had enough, and they can't take it anymore.
Yeah.
So they fuck that guy up, and then they help him get the wolf out, and everybody's like, "Oh shit." But the wolf doesn't attack him, and he was like, "Hey, you need to take me to where Sin is, because wherever Sin is where Iboshi is going to be, and I need to talk to her." So they run off. The elk finally like stays where he's at,
because he's like, "Stay,
yeah,
please."
So they run off, and then we see that that Sin is with
Makoto.
She's like running alongside him. He is like, blood is gushing from him, from like all over him. He is out of it. He's barely like able to tell like anything. He's just like,
he looks like at any moment he could just fall over.
Yeah, and he's like, "We've got to get to the forest spirit, because the forest spirit will give us power and let us win." He is completely delusional, and she's like, "Hey, you need to stop. You're gonna die. Please stop." And he's just not listening.
And here's where we get to a part. The first time I saw this movie, I'm like, it's still creepy.
Yeah, this is very
But
creepy.
but you know, in context, it's not as creepy as my initial thought was. Like, oh my god, all these like fucking dead boars are now infested with demons. But
Yeah,
it's not exactly.
He stops, and then these like boars with no eyes and no legs,
legs.
just pop up
And start
surrounding him.
Rambling around.
Yeah,
And I'm pretty sure Miyazaki held that moment for you to think that.
Yeah.
yeah. When you
For
the
sure.
first time you see this, it's like really, really like what the fuck?
Really
is going
fucking
on?
disturbing because like no eyes, sunken.
It becomes very clear pretty soon, but they all surround him, and of course Akoto can't see, but he can smell, and he's like,
My
"Oh God,
warriors have
my
returned."
warriors, they've returned. Let's go, come on, we're gonna go to the forest spirits pool, and we're going to win." So he jumps up, and Sin is immediately like,
That's not what's
"Oh
going on.
fuck, this is not what's going on." One of them like one of the she's like, these are people dressed up in boar skins, and one of them like,
In your recent dead.
yeah.
Yeah.
So somewhere
What
there's a
fucking
bloody pile
defilement.
of boars.
Yes, just the defilement.
Because
Just
they
suggested
all
by
have
that.
the warrior makeup that all the boars had.
Right.
All the mud that they put on themselves
With their snouts, yeah.
With their snouts. So yeah, these are recently dead. Very disturbing. So she's like, "Hey, these are people," and one of them like gets a sling out and like hits Akoto, and he freaks out and starts running.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Hey, I can barely keep up. Please stop." And as he goes, he starts growing the tentacles,
Yeah. The demon stuff.
the demon stuff. And I'm sorry, the thing it doesn't hit Makoto, it hits her and knocks her out.
Right.
And as he starts becoming a demon, she's telling him like, "Please stop. You're going to become a demon, and I don't want that to happen to you."
And she gets engulfed in it.
Yeah, she gets knocked out and falls over onto his snout in between his tusks.
Yeah.
And she starts becoming engulfed in the demon stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And
And
he's,
to me, that was another Akira moment of,
Oh,
getting,
yeah.
of getting caught inside of
this is
Tetsuo.
really creepy because it
Kyrie!
gets to where like she is so surrounded that you just see her face.
Yeah.
Like they're
And
just
sometimes
coming
you don't
all-
even see that.
Yeah. And they're just coming all like they're growing on her and all of this. It's really, really creepy.
And then Ibushi shows up.
Yeah, Ibushi shows up. They're like, "Hey, we find out that like these are the trappers and everything that Jigo has," and they follow them to the spirit pool. Yeah, as Ibushi and Jigo are going, Ashitaka like rushes past them because he eventually like jumps onto the wolf. The wolf was like, "Hey, you're going too slow. You need to climb on me." And he's like, "Okay." So he rides the wolf, and the wolf like jumps over Ibushi. But he stops before he runs past her and like tells her like, "Hey, your village is being attacked. You need to go back." And she's like, this is like really the only truly shitty moment that for Ibushi, where she's just like, "The women can fend for themselves. We got to go do this."
Right.
I think she's kind of full of herself right now.
Right.
That's probably the main reason, and she pays for it.
I think that's part of it, but I also think it's the desperation of the moment. Like,
Yeah.
you've already
She's
like,
too far into it.
Yeah.
We
Like
can't
the-
turn back.
Like,
Right.
yeah, the term
Plot committed.
The term sunk cost
Sunk cost
fallacy,
fallacy.
Right.
is playing in here. But like, yeah, they can hold it because when we bring the Dear God head back, we can. That's what's going to allow
Yeah.
us to defeat Asano and defeat
Right.
Asano's people.
Right.
So she's like, they'll be fine, and keeps on going. We see that Moro is like half laying in the pool, like she's barely alive. She says that she's like saving her strength. Then Ashitaka gets there, and then Akoto shows up, really, really creepy, like with these tentacles all over him. And he sees that San is like stuck in there, and he tries to get her, and he's not able to. And Moro's like, "Well, I was gonna save my last strength to bite Iboshi's head off, but I guess I have to save my daughter."
Yeah.
And this is really disgusting. Like she goes up and basically just like bites into the tentacles to try and get San out and grabs her into her mouth. And they're basically like conjoined, and then the forest spirit shows up. And he walks up to them and kind of like the tentacles all at first have like this bluish tint, and then they just kind of all go gray and stop, and he kind of stops them. And Moro backs away, and her mouth is just like this black goo is just dripping out of it. And Ashitaka gets San out of her mouth, and basically like kills the spirit. Basically kills both of them. Really, because they were like Moro was near death, and there was no coming back for Akoto. Like he was already too far past gone. And they're like, oh shit, he killed him. Also, but right before this, Eboshi, as the spirit is walking across the water, the spirit can walk on water. She shoots the spirit through the neck, but it doesn't kill it. Like it falls for a second and then it gets back up.
Yeah, because her and the monk are hiding.
Yeah, the monk, the Eboshi and Jigo and all his men are like near the pool and they're waiting for him. And then he goes and kills Akoto and Moro.
Yeah, so she shoots it right through the neck, and like it acts like its eyes like bug out for a second. It gets real weird looking, and then like just gets back to normal.
Well, that's like one of the most inhuman things that face looks like. Again, and I think it punctuates the horror of that moment.
Yeah. And then it goes back to the island and starts. The night is coming, so it starts turning into the Night Watcher, and it starts stretching out. And it looks really, really weird. It starts stretching
Very
out
Lovecraftian.
and becoming translucent,
turning into the Nightwalker.
Yeah. And she's like, "Hey, watch, because this is how you kill a god."
Yeah.
And she shoots it through the neck again, and then its head just kind of explodes off of it.
Yeah.
And then the body, which is still like very much like the Nightwalker, black goo just starts shooting out of it
Everywhere.
And
Landing on trees.
killing the trees. It kills everything that it touches, like literally. All it has to do is like pass through human, and they are immediately dead. So it just starts like shooting out. All the Kodama start dying. This is really sad because all these little things just start like falling like rain almost.
You say sad, and it is, but the real term to me here is apocalyptic.
Yeah, it's very like end of the world kind of feeling.
And its body is still growing, like
getting
it's still
bigger
getting
as
huge.
this black ooze is shooting everywhere.
Shooting out, and then it kind of shoots up into this like tornado that kind of fills the sky. And the black goo starts going everywhere, so everybody's having to run from it.
The monk grabs the head and puts it into
the monks grab the head and put it into this iron
container,
container with a top on it
with a lock.
And then they start running away because they're like, oh shit, because it's like the goo is moving like water, like it's engulfing the entire area. So everybody's trying to run away. Ashitaka's got San, and she's trying to run away. Iboshi's with her second in command guy. They're trying to run away. And then all of a sudden, like the goo like kind of goes through Moro and covers her body, but not her head. And then her head comes off, and
It's just kind of like
just like moves, just like slides
like
forward and just like
skittering and
bites
slithering.
off Iboshi's arm.
takes it right off.
Several times she has said, she has told her people like, "Hey, be careful, because even a dead wolf can bite." She said that a couple of times,
and then it happens.
Yeah, and then it happens
To her.
To her.
To her.
Yeah.
Because she didn't pay
Irony is a
attention.
literary
Yeah.
no.
So yeah, Ash actually saves Eboshi because Ashitaka, he saves Eboshi because like, hey, I'm a Miyazaki hero. I try and save everybody. San wakes up, and her and Ashitaka realize, hey, we have to go get this head. We have to give the head back, or otherwise
Everything
we're all
dies.
Fucked.
Yeah.
Because like I said, it's like a tornado of black goo is just like covering
even
the
the people
sky.
at Irontown are like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah, they're seeing it come out. They're seeing the giant, the headless
We're
giant
all gonna
come out.
die.
Yeah.
The body's just kind of rampaging, and
Very angry, the spirit.
yeah, San is at first she's like really upset at Ashitaka. She's like, hey, you guys did this, and she's really mad. And she's like, hey, and she even gets so mad that she takes like the necklace off and like stabs Ashitaka, and he's like, oh, it's okay, I still love you. They make up and they start running off. It's killing the forest. You can see Irontown.
It destroys Irontown.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It destroys the forge.
Eventually, because it's heading in that direction. But there's just like wave of black goo that's like coming around Irontown. Ashitaka actually goes by Irontown. Is like, hey, everybody,
Get the fuck out.
get into the river.
The river will slow it down.
Yeah,
or
the river
something.
will slow it down. Hopefully, I don't know how the
Yeah.
fuck he knew that, but
Yeah.
like they all, because it's just
Well,
the
'cause
women.
it's harder to like if it's harder to walk through water, it'd be harder to goo through water. Yeah,
Sure, but
it makes sense in the moment. You know, like if you're
Sure.
again if you're that back to the wall,
Right.
go to what works in other avenues.
yeah, the goo finally covers up Irontown as all of the women and the lepers get out into the river. Ashitaka and San finally meet up with Jigo, and like
They're being surrounded.
they're surrounded by the goo, and also like the giant, the headless giant is trying to find the head, so it is
Right.
like right there.
The hand is
And they're,
coming
like,
down.
and they're like running off, and yeah, the giant hand just slowly comes down, and as it hits, it starts melting. Miyazaki loves like melting things,
Yeah.
like that happens in Howl's Moving Castle. It happens in this one.
Nausicaa.
Happened in Nausicaa.
It happens in Nausicaa. I'm pretty certain it happens in Spirited Away a couple of times. Yeah, of course, with
yeah.
No
Yeah,
Face.
yeah, I did.
But yeah, he loves this like drawing things that like melt and look really disgusting. So yeah, the hand stops him, and like they finally get Jigo cornered, and he's like, "Hey, why are you trying to stop me? Everybody wants everything, so why can't you just let me go and everything will be fine?" And they're like, "No, it's not." So finally, like Jigo just attacks them. Like they fight Jigo. I believe Ashitaka fights Jigo, and then San fights the monks that's with him. They finally like get to a point where they're literally like standing on a rock, and they're covered, and the goo is like everywhere. And he's like, "Hey, you have to open this up. Human beings have to be the ones to give this back, or else we're all going to die."
It has to be returned by human
Yeah,
hands.
it has to be
Right.
returned by human hands. So Jigo finally gives up and is like, "Fine," and he opens up the thing, and
It is gross.
it is gross because it's this weird, gross-looking head
and
that-
gelatinous like Jello.
in this nasty green goo.
Yeah.
That when they pick it up, the black curse like starts spreading onto them, and then like San and Ashitaka
Both hold it up
both
together.
hold the head up, and it's
There's
dripping.
one point we missed during all of this. It kind of can be hard, can be easy to kind of miss this, but the curse that initially started on his arm has now wrapped around, is making bands around his
Oh
body.
yeah,
Oh,
the,
yeah.
The curse has grown every time that we see it. There's more of it
more
around
of it.
him.
Yeah.
And which again in this final scene where you see it, where it's covering both him and San,
Yeah.
and just absolutely like it like this is the final moment.
Yeah. So as they hold it up, like the giant like kind of bends down.
Its neck extends
Its
out
neck extends
towards
out
the head.
into the head and grabs onto the head, and then it keeps going, and then it kind of falls on Irontown and kind of explodes into this shower of wind that blows every fucking thing away. It blows all of the samurai away. It blows Irontown away. It blows everything away. And it also heals everybody. It heals the curse from Ashitaka. It heals the curse from San. It heals. I didn't notice this, but I saw it in IMDb, so I could pay attention to it. It actually heals the lepers. When you see the lepers,
Oh shit.
Yeah.
their faces are uncovered. At least one of their faces is uncovered and has nothing wrong with it.
Oh shit.
So it heals everybody, and it also makes everything that the goo had touched green.
right. Grass starts
Irontown
growing.
is now green. There's
Grass,
and grass starts growing
flowers,
everywhere. So much so that San and Ashitaka wake up in like a field,
Yeah.
almost. And then the end kind of happens pretty quick.
Yeah. Pretty quickly.
San and Ashitaka talk, and San's like, "I love you, but I can't
Forgive
forgive the humans
for what they've done.
I have to live in the forest. I can't be with the humans." And Ashitaka, I don't know why Ashitaka was like, "Well, I'll live in the forest too. I don't give a shit." But he's like, "It's fine. I'll come visit you every once in a while. I need to go help rebuild Irontown."
All right. Bye, cuck boy. See you
Oh,
later.
bye. Okay, bye.
Bye, cuck boy.
We cut to Iboshi and she's survived, and she's reunited with the people of Irontown.
She is the
and
one-armed swordsman.
She's like, "Oh, I'm sorry. Where's Ashitaka? I really need to thank him for saving him from the pickle that I put everybody in." And she says, "We're going to build Irontown better. We're going to build." Well, she didn't say Irontown. She says, "We'll
them
build
two are fucking later.
We'll build a better village."
Yeah.
So hopefully, this means that they will build a village that is not like using the land in such a negative way.
Right, because he's wanting to help build back up the town, but maybe more like his old village in a way.
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully.
It is a hopeful ending. And then we cut to Jigo, and Jigo's like, "Oh, well, can't help stupid people."
Yeah.
And
He's
then-
like, I got away with it. Huh?
yeah, scot-free. And then the last shot is another little Kodama, so it shows, they all didn't
The
die. That's
Kodama's
great.
coming
They're
back,
coming
yeah.
back. That's great. And that's the end of the movie.
Yep.
That is the end.
The credits. Goodbye, Cuck Boy. I'll see you never again.
Just a little bit of a couple of pieces of trivia that I thought were interesting.
Sure.
Miyazaki either corrected or redrew 80,000 of the 144,000 animation cells of this movie.
Sounds about right.
Because that's the kind of
Believable.
person Miyazaki is. He is a perfectionist. That is why he is never happy.
An exacting perfectionist.
Yes. Also, San was the inspiration for Ahsoka Tano from the Clone Wars. I thought that was very interesting. And now, when I saw that, I was like, I've never watched the Clone Wars, but I know of the character of Ahsoka Tano, and I was like, oh, okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. They took some inspiration from there.
I see it.
But that is Princess Mononoke.
Oh, wait,
This
I
is-
have trivia.
Yeah.
I have trivia. So, Hayao Miyazaki, you may have heard of him. We've only
No.
talked glowingly about him so far.
Who's that?
Yeah, he's this guy. But no, so in the early 80s, he was working in another production company. It's the one that I think would eventually give him the ability to do Nazca. But he had been called upon to work on one of the most cursed animated films of all time, Little Nemo Adventures in Dreamland. There were ideas to put this onto the screen in the 50s while Disney was still alive.
Yeah.
You name a production company both on this side of the water in the United States and in Japan. They tried to do a rendition of this. For years they could not get it to work. But one of those renditions Hayao Miyazaki was working on. Hayao Miyazaki attempted to kind of change the story around because, in his opinion, if you take it to Dreamland, people are not going to grasp this. They're not going to understand. They're not going to want to watch this. So instead, he rewrote the story edge on that in a bar in Los Angeles. He was living in Los Angeles at the time. And it was more about the story of a young man turned into a beast and a princess in the age of the provincial wars. Working on Little Nemo, he started working on what would eventually become Princess Mononoke.
Oh.
That's pretty
Not
cool.
only that, though, one of his early drafts for Little Nemo would eventually go on to be Howl's movie. Excuse me, not Howl, Laputa Castle in the Sky.
Okay.
And then finally, some of his character designs would eventually lead to Nazca of the Valley of the Wind. So one of the most cursed animated productions of all time led to three of the most prominent and I would argue excellent productions of all time from Studio Ghibli. So just a little thing like it's like art from adversity.
Yeah.
When you have
Right.
that kind of struggle with
Well,
it.
someone did make that into an actual thing.
That's a weird ass kids movie.
9 years later, they finally got enough to put it all together. They brought in we're talking Disney animators that worked on Snow White.
Right.
These people were working on that. Isao Takahata was also working on this thing. He actually came in just a little bit after Miyazaki came in. It's
Right.
and no one could get on the same page. They eventually got it done. I think it releases in Japan in '87 and in the United States in 1990 on a budget of $30 million. In '87 money,
Yeah.
so that's not
For
small.
an animated film.
It
Yeah.
made $11.4 million. It was a
Yeah.
complete bust, and has
Right.
later gone on to be I don't want to say a cult classic, but a
Right.
cult movie in the animation genre.
More of a cult oddity.
I actually have a copy of that.
I also have a copy of
because
it.
I watched it when I was little and I was like, this is so fucking weird.
Yeah.
And it is all over the place, and you can tell that it was that was made
It's
like
sort of like an anthology,
almost
in a
because
way.
it is kind of just all over
It's
the place
disjointed.
and disjointed and
Yeah.
episodic. But yeah,
Yeah.
that's also like that's kind of like one of those Cobbler and the Thief stories where
Yeah.
of the
From my
production.
notes, I believe I pulled this from Wikipedia, but Frank Thomas and Ollie Johnston, who were members of the Nine Old Men, who were there in Disney's early, we're talking Snow White days.
Yeah.
They brought in the following Japanese animators to learn from them: Hayao Miyazaki, Isao Takahata, Yasuo Otsuka, Yoshifumi Kondo, Katsuhide Tomonoga. Look them up.
Yeah.
The statement made by these gentlemen was very simple: we have nothing to teach them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What? Yeah,
Right.
We have. There's not. What are we going to teach them?
Yeah.
Apparently, though, again Miyazaki and that crew, they did say that they were greatly inspired by the Nine Old Men's creative approach to how to create a story. So once again, Disney has a kind of loose effect on Japanese animation.
of
once
course.
again.
Yeah. It also, you have to remember that like before Snow White, people did not believe that you could make a full movie,
Yeah, an
a
animated
full
feature.
animated movie,
Yeah.
and have it make any money
Yeah,
whatsoever.
it would just stay in shorts forever.
Like
But yeah.
nobody, like this was so like this is something that we can't really understand. Like
Right.
we can't understand the way people saw animation before Snow White because it had that much of an impact. It is so hard for us to really grasp that. So yeah, I can still see that. But yeah, this is a great movie. Like I said, this is a lot of people's first taste of really probably even Japanese animation, period.
But particularly the Studio Ghibli movies.
Yeah, particularly
in
Studio Ghibli.
the United States.
In the United States, of course, yeah. But this is also, like we said, this is the bloody and mature
Right.
of Studio Ghibli's movies.
And we've kind of kidded about it, but I believe you can have things like this in media that is meant to be seen by children, as long as you don't like the violence is not glorified. Ashitaka kind of is violent in the moment because he has to be, because he's trying to do. He
Well, he
trying
doesn't
to
even
save
really
lives.
understand what's happening at
Right.
first, and then he's really only ever violent because he has to be.
Right.
And even then, he tries as hard as possible to use the least amount of violence possible.
And then even trying, he still fails in the regard that, like, again, he was looking to pretty much debilitate that man who had the sword. I can't remember if it was a sword of Naginata, and is just beating on that man. Instead, he shears his arms off.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, stop following. He shoots him. Like, I don't know how you make a headshot non-lethal, but I believe Ashitaka could have.
Yeah.
If he wasn't possessed by the spirit of conflict.
Yeah.
That is the true enemy of this movie. Like, it's not that it's iron. It's not that it's human civilization and human development. It is the conflict between human civilization and nature that drives this plot. And the symbol of the bullet as what caused this. It's what turned Nago into a demon. It's what killed the deer god.
Yeah.
It's the notion of fighting, the notion of conflict. If you look back at the first explosions from the slaughter, it is a pillar of fire rising up. Once again, we have the symbolism of the atomic bomb. I don't say that to say, oh, we're going back to no. It is evocative. It is powerful. When you see that, you know what it represents. You know what it means, and you can understand that this is a bad thing. And I won't say he wallows it, but he lets you feel that throughout all of that fight,
Right.
and through almost every fight in this story. This is the most fight-heavy story I think we're going to have.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
As far as that goes,
Oh,
like,
yeah.
there's going to be like some more individual things in Tales from Earthsea, and I don't. And Boy and the Heron is almost supernatural slice of life, or am I
it's
speaking wrong on that?
No, but like when it comes to like violence and fighting, there's not a lot in there.
Okay.
The violence is different. I will
Okay.
just say that it's hard to explain.
That's fair.
But yeah, this is his most. This is, like I said, the most mature when it comes to not necessarily just themes, because I think like you could be argued like Grave of the Firefly is very mature in its storytelling, but this is just the most when it comes to like violence and on screen and stuff like that. This is very, very mature. This would fuck some kids up. When they
Oh,
were
yeah.
younger. Like this
Oh
is,
yeah.
That might be the point.
probably like like Henry Selick says, it's okay for kids to be scared every once in a while.
Hey Timmy, you want to see a man get decapitated with an arrow?
Yeah.
Twice.
Don't worry about that.
He
Just
goes
look-
back.
look-
he goes
just
back to
listen-
that well one more time.
Yeah, but yeah, this is a great movie. It's not my favorite, but it is like definitely up there.
Oh, this is easily top 3 for me.
It moves at such a brisk clip. Like I said, the difference between this one and Kaguya, when they're almost the same length, like really, like I don't ever feel the length in this one, but I feel it oftentimes in other movies like Kaguya. Even though, like I said, that's a good movie. It's just I felt the length in it.
I think Mononoke is in my top 5. I can't do a top 3 anymore with Miyazaki films, with Ghibli films. I can't do a top 3 anymore. It's in my top 5.
Yeah, it's a great film that has really inspired like a lot of people. Like I said, this is a lot of people's first taste of this, and they just go headlong into it.
Yeah, this one or Spirited Away nowadays. Like
Spirited Away
is
after
a
it
big
came
one.
out was really it was easy, but like in the late 90s, like
Oh
this was
yeah, no,
definitely,
yeah, because Spirited Away is like what 2000 and
Spirited
I think
is
it's
One-
just
it's
after.
either
It's
01
just
or
after the
02.
turn of
it's
the
2001,
century.
I believe.
Yeah.
When did House come out?
House came out like I want to say
05? 04?
No, maybe 08. I want to say 08. That's what I'm gonna say.
but to find out,
Gotta wait for my phone to catch up with.
let's
the
go Shay internet,
Yeah.
my guy.
But yeah, that's all I really have to say about Mononoke. I don't know if anybody else has anything else to say. If
So-
not, we will wrap it up. Again, the themes of like, environmentalism, living with the land, living in harmony, peace. War is very, very bad. Conflict is bad. We need to find another way other than conflict. So yeah, those are the themes that we'll continue to talk about as we talk about another Miyazaki movie coming up. But next week we're going to be talking about not. I'm sorry.
My apologies.
Yes.
This is the first film from this month that I was disappointed with. This is a very good movie. I want to it's but for me, the voice acting in this one was a little off. I would point to Claire Danes early on. I think we get better takes from her later in the movie when I think she has a little bit more to work with. But I think in the early going when we hear her, I think she's very off. And Billy Bob Thornton. And I don't know if this is a matter of the actor or the voice direction. I think he may have been directed to try to get the words in time with the voice movements of the character on the screen. And I feel it would have served better to just like go at it. Because he feels like he's shooting those lines out. Again, early going. It gets better. And I wonder if there may have been a change in direction. But the speed of it throws me off. I have seen 2 movies from Studio Ghibli that I feel work the themes of this movie better than this movie does. Going back to the voice acting stuff, I think of Claire Danes because I think Claire Danes at this point and Chloe Grace Moretz at that point when she was Princess Kaguya. I think Chloe Grace Moretz's performance was light years better than Claire Danes' in this one. I can't think of I know you had that Brady. I know you had that issue with James Caan with that. I did not have that issue with James Caan like I had the issue with there's points in this where I think the voice acting just didn't stand up. I think the themes were better done in Nausicaa. I think the protagonist, while I like Ashitaka and I think he's a solid protagonist, I don't think he rises to the level of Nausicaa as far as someone I really care about. I don't know if that's this is the third movie like so soon, and maybe I haven't taken enough time to kind of process that. This is also the first movie I can say, without a doubt, in this month, I fell asleep watching this movie. I fell asleep right at the scene where Iboshi and and Jiko meet, not for the first time, but meet on screen for the
Yeah.
first time. And I had to go back and rewatch that because I fell asleep during it.
I don't think that he's the only protagonist in
This
the
is
story.
definitely like a dual protagonist, although you see most of it through
his
perspective.
Sure.
I
have.
I don't particularly agree with anything. I really don't understand the falling asleep thing. Like, to me, like, this moves at such a brisk clip that, like, and there's always something happening. I don't like I said, I don't agree with everything. I will say, when it comes to like the voice acting, I think maybe I've watched this enough times that like Billy Bob Thornton is fine with me. I do remember early on, like the first one or two times that I've watched this movie, him kind of sticking out a little bit. And there is a problem when it comes to like American animated movies where they use these celebrities, and the celebrities, just because you're a good actor does not make you a good voice actor. They're actually two separate, and usually, surprisingly, like the direction for a Ghibli movie, they get better performances out of them than you would think. But a lot of time, but like there's most actors who act, in real life are not the greatest voice actors. That's become a big problem in movies, because in animated movies in America, because you have these people who don't do a good enough job. And sometimes you get that with, I would argue, like the first couple of times I watched Howl's Moving Castle, like Christian Bale wasn't that great to me. It took me watching it a few times for him to actually like gain on me.
None of the voice acting threw me off on the last two movies. The only thing that like funny enough was Patrick Stewart and Nazca, because his voice is so dominant.
Yeah.
Like I didn't even know it was Billy Bob Thornton until after the movie was over. Like I'd forgotten all about that. So I didn't have any of that.
And again, I would also say that, again, this is coming off of, again, two, for me, very fantastic movies in Princess Kaguya and Nazca, in the fact that, like, this benchmark is set so high, and I don't think Mononoke, for me, this is a personal opinion, does not reach that limit.
Sure.
Yeah,
I mean,
just because I
everyone's got
don't
their
agree
own
with your
personal
opinion, and I don't really even understand where you're coming from, doesn't mean that you can't have your opinion. It's perfectly fine.
Everyone's got their own preferences.
It's like mine and Brady's opinion on Kaguya, where Jay, it's still a good movie. It's just not everyone's cup of tea.
Yeah.
I think that goes with like a lot of Ghibli films.
Yeah.
Also.
But I think this one is one that you can show to a lot of people who aren't familiar with like Japanese animation.
Well, yeah,
because it is so action packed and and action oriented.
It is, and it's got a really good, nice mix of reality and fantasy. Because the fantastic elements aren't like ridiculous until you get to the Spirit of the Forest thing. That's a little
the Spirit of the Forest is really the only place where it like
gets supernatural,
really crazy. Because otherwise, it's just like, okay, these are giant animals that can talk. I've watched a Disney movie. I've seen this.
Right. Because like Kaguya is based in like a real time period, but it's a fantastical plot and a story element, and Nazca is all fantasy.
Yeah, the fantasy in that is, until the very end of Kaguya, is very grounded.
It is very grounded. Yeah,
there's some weird things that happen, but most of the stuff is like kind of grounded.
Right.
But yeah, this is the one I think that would be that's a really good, like, if you want to introduce somebody to this. And
I'd have to agree.
Because like the other ones are very, very good, but they do have like they can be very slow and methodical, and I don't think that that's a bad thing.
Right.
But they do have that.
And not to use this as a bad term at all, but like as far as like being able to translate like some of the ideals and visual representations of storytelling, that Spirited Away is very Japanese.
Yes.
It's extremely Japanese.
Yeah. Although I do know that like Spirited Away works. It worked on my daughter for like 2 weeks. That was her favorite movie.
And
I was
cool.
I think if you're introducing,
was so happy.
I think if you're
To a
introducing
young child,
if you're introducing to children, I
Yeah.
would say go with Spirited Away.
Yeah. So yeah, that's gonna be Princess Mononoke. and the movie, the on the movie poster for next week's, the name is Miyazaki, but it's not Hayao Miyazaki. We're going Goro Miyazaki. Much to my chagrin, we're going to be watching Tales from Earthsea. We're probably going to talk about a movie that that not many of us like, if at all any of us.
I like it.
Does it count if you've never seen it?
Oh boy.
Well,
I can't wait to hear your opinion on
great.
this.
I'm looking forward to it, man.
It can be argued that Goro Miyazaki, I won't say tramples, but injures the legacies of two great creators, one of them being his father and the other one being Ursula Le Guin, who for years tripled with C.S. Lewis with the Chronicles of Narnia and J.R.R. Tolkien with The Lord of the Rings as the three pillars of high fantasy fiction.
I don't know. I don't like where this is going so far.
like I said, I'm curious about I'm curious to talk about like stuff that I won't say
There is going to be a very
the periphery. I want to talk about Ursula Le Guin. I want to talk about the relationship between Hayao and Goro. I think there's very interesting things there.
There's a very interesting story there.
In addition to the story of the movie that's there.
Unfortunately, all that interesting stuff is not in the movie, but we'll get
spoiler alert. I think there is. And I will talk about that
maybe
next week.
maybe we didn't watch the same movie, but sure. So yeah, we'll talk about that next. We've hyped it up so much. How can you not watch this fucking movie?
Yeah.
But yeah, that'll be next week. But until then, we are going to be rolling into the bus station, and then we're gonna go.
I'd like to take it from here if I can.
Okay.
I'm gonna take a note from last week's episode and say we don't have time to plug any other podcasts, so we're not going to.
Whiskey and Wrestling, watch it.
There you go.
Yeah.
Purology, it's a podcast. Listen
Yeah.
to it. Silence Your Cell Phones, it's a podcast. Listen to it.
No, it's not.
No, it's not.
oh.
That's the one. That's,
Whoops.
well, you made us liars in the third hour.
Come to McNard Gaming and buy your puzzles and shit.
Yeah.
Completed podcast, magic and shit.
Yeah.
All right. Cool.
That's the way we-
Bearded drums and shit.
Yeah.
Bearded drums.
Yeah. There you go.
All right.
We're
That's
gonna
it.
be out of here. That is it. My
Boom.
name is Brady Davis.
I'm Jody Kite.
I'm Ethan Skinner.
I'm James McCarthy. Just hit it.
Yeah, just hit it.
Yeah, just hit it.
All right, cool. We're done. Tales of Earthsea. Let's go.
Like right now, you are fired up.
I gotta be up in like 6 hours. Let's go.
God, everyone's pulling the buttons. Hang on.
Everyone's pulling the buttons.
Everyone's pulling the
There's
buttons.
so many buttons being pulled.